Hi.
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 Hi, welcome to Script Daddy.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Colin. And here at Script Daddy, we read scripts, watch the movie, and discuss the difference between script and screen. And Script Babies, you may have noticed that there is a third voice in the studio with us today. Carlie, would you like to introduce our special guest?
She is my sister. My sister. Her story.
Sister. We are making her story here on Script Daddy. The first in-studio guest.
It's true.
Mhm.
It's actually
herstory.
true.
Mhm.
Herstory.
Honored.
Mhm.
Honored.
Technically, now you're hearing my voice. I have been silent up until this point. So
You
here I
said
am.
hi.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
She
even
blacked
realize I had an
out.
out-of-body
She's drunk.
experience.
She's drunk.
I'm here. Hi.
She's here.
Yeah.
She's
She's
not
just
queer.
in awe of the Script Daddy being in our presence.
Yeah.
She's in
She's
awe.
pretty starstruck right now.
Mhm.
Yes,
Extremely.
we're sisters, but she's starstruck.
Yeah.
You know
Every
what I'm
day.
saying?
Every
Yeah.
single day.
And
Yes,
you're
they're
basically
sisters,
her
but they're
brother,
lovers
but
too.
she's also
Mhm.
starstruck.
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Completely.
Exactly.
She writes in
Completely.
her journal about us and puts a little star around us.
That makes me happy
Mhm.
and a little concerned,
Mhm.
but mostly happy.
But mostly happy. Sierra, we talked about her bio because normally it'd be like, you know, like, but her main bio is that she's my sister. She's the firstborn.
I am.
She is the reason we came out here. She's the reason we came out to LA from all the way from Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was into theater. And then a manager or an agent said, "You got the moxie."
It was a casting director.
Oh.
It was a casting director
Flex.
because I got really close on the Parent Trap remake.
Ooh, watch
Let me
out,
know.
Lindsay.
Let me know when you
Yeah.
guys do that. When you do that.
Miss Lohan,
Classic.
move over.
Yeah, you better.
Psh, out
But
of the
yeah,
way.
it was the casting director who essentially was like, "Get out to LA for pilot season." And
So she dragged her entire family out here for
Mhm.
her dreams.
Love.
And then I said, "Wait, me too."
Mhm.
And the rest is history. She is now also a Gorgine writer. She has not yet done a screenplay.
No.
but she
It's
is,
time.
It's time. But she is queen essay. Queen. That's what. That's
Nonfiction is really
nonfiction.
my
Well, but
is
you
my
also
bag.
Write the shit out of an essay.
Right. Well, that's usually nonfiction for
right?
me, at least
but
for
I
me.
want to
it is.
call you essay queen.
Okay, go for it.
So anyway,
I'll take it.
She's a gold star girl. I love her so much. We're besties.
I too am a gold star in different ways.
Which I learned the other day. Which I can't believe I didn't know that. I think I did know that. Anyway, you're part of the main reason you're here for this here episode is because she is also what, Siera?
A Star is Born aficionado, super fan. It is one of my soul films.
How many times would you say you have watched?
I was actually trying to think about this last night, and I want to say it has to be 20 times.
girl.
It has to be.
I don't know if I've ever seen any movie 20
Really?
times.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I for sure saw it in theaters 3 times. So
Okay.
there was that. My husband took me to see it as the outdoor movie thing. So that was for
Oh,
Where?
fun.
Which one?
this was like in 2019.
Yeah,
when we
but
had
where?
first-
Like-
it was just one of the Eat, See, Hear things.
Oh, got it.
Oh,
um,
cute. Fun.
Yeah, I remember he drove up playing the soundtrack.
Nice touch,
Touch.
Alfredo.
Nice touch, Alfredo.
Well done.
Uh-huh.
Well done.
Yeah, and then I'm the one who introduces it to a lot of people if they haven't seen it. It's a comfort movie to me, interestingly enough.
Love.
But I love it.
Yeah.
I really love it. So that's when they told me that they were going to do A Star is Born. I was like, guys.
Well, and part of the fun little dynamic here is that Siera is a Star is Born aficionado. I am not, but I do very much enjoy this movie. We enjoy watching it together.
Mhm.
It is also, I would say it's oddly a comfort movie for me too,
Yeah.
which I think I'm realizing more and more. When we did this, when I had to look at it from like a bunch of different angles, I was like, oh, the core of it is like strangely a comfort movie,
Yeah.
despite the fact that it's like tragic in many ways.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes tragedy can be comforting too.
Yeah.
But also Siera and I really love it.
Mhm.
We
We do yearly viewings
We
usually, you and
usually
I.
do
That's what
yearly
I'm saying. It's
viewings.
got to be upwards of
Yeah.
20 times for me.
and
That's nuts.
we did for Halloween one year. I went as Jackson and Siera went as Allie, and we
Mhm.
will have to find we'll have to post a photo somewhere because
We'll
I'm not
post
gonna
it.
lie. I think we
It's-
absolutely
It's good.
slayed it.
It's
Pretty
one of
good.
my proudest accomplishments because we also put that together.
So
I
last
mean,
minute.
like last minute, like the day of
And
Halloween.
I look like Bradley in it. Bradley is Jackson.
It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie.
I think when we first posted it, people asked me who that was.
It's honestly my favorite when I dress as a man for Halloween and people don't know who I am. I'm like, this is freedom, honestly. But the reason the dynamic is juicy is because Colin is, in your own words, infamously perhaps not a huge fan.
Not a huge fan. I think it's a good film, but I have my thoughts.
But that's even better than how you used to look at it. We've talked about this movie for years.
I don't love it, and for a while I couldn't figure out why I didn't love it. But that's why when we decided to do this episode, I was like, okay, great, because I like to figure out when I don't like something, like why. And for so long, I've just been like, I don't know, it doesn't work for me. And then now, having watched the film, read the script, and done all the other research associated with it, I have a much clearer, more like a clearer understanding of where my thoughts and feelings arise from. And I do stand by it, although I have a new appreciation for the story itself, given its history and its legacy in the industry.
What we did differently with this is we're going to go through the stats for the 2018 one, and that is going to be our main focus. But Colleen McQueen watched all 4. My good God, child.
Yeah.
I watched the first one from the 1930s that like the whole IP is coming from. Siera, you watched
1976 version,
which is that the last one?
Yeah, that was the one with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson.
Okay, and yeah, so Colin watched all of them. I watched the first and the last, and then Siera watched the last one and this one. Which is going to be interesting. It was fun. It was like, we'll pepper it in.
Exactly.
But there was something kind of cool about dissecting it and realizing that this is so much bigger than just this version, that this has been a story that people have been compelled to keep remaking, and
audiences love.
Yeah.
Audiences love it. That's why, like, my thoughts aside, I always do like to honor the fact that, like, when something is, we've said this with other movies that we've done here before too, where if it's not my personal, like, something that I really vibe with, if it's a huge success, I can't deny that some portion of it is good storytelling and it resonates with people.
Yep.
And especially with this one, it's a legacy IP, 4 different versions of this movie.
4.
This is a timeless kind of dynamic that people obviously really resonate with. And it's tragic, and there's so many different references you could make for it. But, like, I can't deny that this is a story that people love, and I won't take that away from it. Or, like, I used to be very, like, shit on this movie because I was like, a little uppity about it. But, like, I don't feel that way anymore.
But isn't that sort of the nature? I feel like that's the nature of a lot of things, though, when things are so, like, wildly hyped. I now understand why there was so much hype about this remake. When I remember seeing the trailer and just being like, oh, I'm compelled to see that, but I have no reference point for why people are talking about it. But I think that that's kind of a common thing. That's what's so special about what you guys are doing with this podcast, is that you are, instead of just like, if you're saying shit talking movie or whatever it is, you actually are challenging yourselves to go deeper and to understand or appreciate things so much differently. And because that's true, there are plenty of movies that are really popular, big hype movies that it is just not in my circle. But my
favorite thing when that happens is just, it's not for me then.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like we always talk about this, but, like, the point of the podcast is to find, like, let's all figure out what does work about it, because there's always something gorgeous to mine from, like, what can universally work, even between someone who's, like, low-key obsessed, someone who loves, and someone who's kind of indifferent / doesn't love. Like, it is interesting because I said to Colin, like, even though I do really love this movie, it kind of reminded me of Basic Instinct a little bit, where, like, you love that movie so much that you were like, I'm aware of its, like, quote unquote flaws, but I just love it so much.
A lot of them.
Yeah, but we said, like, that's also a gorgeous thing to look at. And I felt like this time, because I was looking at it with such a fine-tooth comb, there were certain things that stuck out to me as a quote unquote flaw, if you even want to call it that. It's kind of whatever. But I found myself going, but I'm not going to focus. Like, it's fun. I'm excited.
Exactly,
I'm excited. So let's dive into the stats.
Give it to us.
So I am exclusively doing Amazon log lines now, Colleen.
Period. I mean,
Deborah,
Oh.
I am Deborah. Shit the bed.
Deborah's. She's
Colin
been,
is
she's
still
been
available.
diarrheaing in that.
Colin
bed.
is still
We
available.
have no more sheets.
It's true. And Colin's available to be hired to do the log
Yes.
lines.
Deborah, call me. Contact me.
But literally on IMDb, just because I always look, I love to see the contrast. It literally was like a drunken singer helped someone get famous, and you're like, whoa.
IMDb log lines are awful.
on.
Whereas Amazonian,
They're really
Miss
good.
Bezos,
I know.
I like to picture
Fucking
Miss
Bezos.
Bezos doing
Yeah.
this herself
Mhm.
with her nails.
She puts her hair up in a little chignon and she gets to
and she
work.
clinks the little nails,
Mhm.
going, the French tips, the little
Oh.
French tip. Okay, the log line. In this new take on the tragic love story, Bradley Cooper plays musician Jackson Maine, who discovers and falls in love with struggling artist Allie, Lady Gaga. But even as Allie's career takes off, their relationship is breaking down, and as Jack fights an ongoing battle with his own internal demons.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to be inclusive to it's
Yeah.
not really a franchise, I guess, but or what is it? It's not a franchise.
I have no other word
Yeah,
for
I don't know
it
what
to
the-
call
yeah.
it, so I'm just calling it
We're
a
just
franchise.
going to call it a franchise for a second. To be inclusive to the franchise and still give you a picture of what it is,
Yeah.
versus IMDb that's like drunk rocker
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
friend. It's like beep boop. Anyway, this isn't meant to be an I Am Deborah hate club, but it might.
It has become one. I'm sorry. The log lines are awful.
Ooh. The director is Bradley Cooper. Okay, so the
Just-
writer, so this is kind of interesting. So the writer, it says Eric Roth, Bradley Cooper, and Will Fetters. That is both on the script and on IMDb. In some trivia, it said that Lady Gaga was a little bit involved, but I imagine more so in
Yes.
conversations than like literal
Well,
writing, but I don't know.
I've heard that the reason they said it in a drag bar was directly from Gaga.
Okay.
Gaga wanted it set
So
there.
maybe she added story versus like she didn't write,
I
but she
guess
added the
so.
story.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then, of course, it's based on the 1954 screenplay by Moss Hart, and then the 1976 screenplay by John Gregory Dune and Joan Didion and Frank
Mhm.
Pearson.
Joan Didion. That really surprised me
that
when I
surprised
saw
me
that.
too. I was like, Joan Didion.
I was
Yeah,
I,
that's-
like,
I was
okay.
like, okay, Papa.
Okay,
yeah. And then so it's based on the screenplay, but then it's also based on a story
the
by William Wellman
1937 one
and Robert Carson.
was co-written by a woman, which I thought for the time period, I was like, call Papa.
Huh.
This is
But written by a
interesting.
man and a woman. Mhm.
Interesting.
So it's also based on a story by William Wellman and Robert Carson. There are, I mean, the adaptation isn't even a good enough word
Yeah.
for it anymore.
You look on IMDb, it's like 8 writers. But
Yeah.
because you have
Yeah.
to credit the previous ones. but
yeah.
Crazy. Okay, so Eric Roth is arguably one of the most successful, incredible screenwriters. We're
Adaptation
talking
King,
Forrest Gump.
which I didn't know was
What?
an adaptation, by the way.
Oh my
I'm guessing it was a
gosh.
book or
What a
something. I
skill
don't
set.
know.
Huh.
Ali, Curious
Girl.
Case of Benjamin Batoon, Dune Part 1,
Mhm.
and then I believe most recently was Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean,
He also
he's
did
80,
a
dude.
movie that I really want to see that I don't know anything about, but I've always wanted to see. It's extremely loud and incredibly
Oh,
close.
yeah, that
Okay.
was what
Have
I
y'all seen that?
I haven't seen
no,
that.
but I do
really
want
wanna
to see it.
But yeah, he wrote that too.
I mean,
I'm like,
honestly,
get
to
it.
me, dream career because he's like all over the place.
He does like almost exclusively adaptations, which is
and he's
interesting.
so good at it.
Yeah,
I saw he has a
Get
masterclass, so
it.
that might be fun to check out.
Period.
Will Fetters has done a lot of like love stories. Remember Me with Robert Pattinson, The Lucky One, The Best of Me, and Hustle most recently with Adam Sandler. But a lot of his stuff that I looked up was like a lot of more. He must have brought some of the romance to
Mhm.
it because that's like his thing.
Oh, true. Yeah.
It's starring Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, and Sam Elliott. The cinematographer. Okay, this is so fun. The cinematographer is Matthew Libatique. And that was Scott's inspiration for becoming a cinematographer. How cool
Oh
is
my
that?
god, I love that.
And he's worked with him twice, which is also so cool. But you ready to have a jaw drop on this?
Yeah.
Guess. I mean, his much like Eric, I've just picked Eric's like most known. I just picked Matthew's most known, but his resume is nuts. He got into a lot of this through music videos, which is fun. He did a lot for Incubus, strangely enough. But are you ready for this? Requiem for a Dream,
Oh,
Gothica, The Fountain.
Oh my
The
gosh.
Fountain.
I love the Fountain.
Bitch, The Number 23. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I remember that
I
movie.
loved that movie with Jim Carrey.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Okay.
see 23 everywhere.
I
Yep, yep.
I'm kinda down
Put
to
me
do that.
I thought of it.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
fun to do that. Iron Man, Black Swan,
Oh.
Is the cinematographer for all these?
Mother,
Wait, Black Swan. Pop
Girl,
off,
pop
king
off,
on
king.
that
Oh my
cinematography.
God.
The Whale. Don't worry, darling.
Did y'all see The Whale?
I didn't see The
I
Whale.
didn't, which I know. I
need
that
to.
movie
I need
broke
to.
me.
I think I was not ready to be broken.
I think
It came
that's-
out.
It came out like a year or two after my dad died, and it fucking
okay.
destroyed. I like left that theater sobbing, like having like to like walk out with Seth. Like,
Wow.
You're on all fours. Everyone's like, is he okay?
barfing, barking, shitting myself.
And then most recently he did Caught Stealing. But again, talk about a career.
And he has a cameo in the movie.
Did y'all
He
see Caught
does?
Stealing?
When she finds out that she was nominated for a Grammy, there's a person that comes to hug her before Rez does. That's him.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Because
I
I noticed that last night when I was watching and I was like, hold on. And then I watched the little 30-minute like featurette and I was like, oh, that's who that is. Okay.
The cinematographer?
Yeah.
That's so fun. I love stuff
I
like
love
that.
that.
The budget was 36 million.
Yes, but the gross.
Oh,
Insane.
the gross.
Oh.
Okay, this is worldwide, but the gross was 436.4 million.
Do you know what they made opening weekend?
What?
Oh,
It was like 46 million. Just
Well,
opening
and
weekend
dom-
domestic.
Domestically, it was 215 total.
Like
That
smash
yeah, it did
I mean,
so well.
hit. Made
lit
back its budget
smash.
opening weekend and then
Smash.
just like I mean I knew it was
It's
big,
wild.
but when I looked at those stats I was like, holy fucking shit.
I mean, I have not seen a film in theaters more than once since Titanic.
Girl.
That's Colin's
One of my
movie.
top three.
And that
all-time
one,
movies.
I was so young, and like this one, this is the first time. I remember there was a night when you, Scott, and I still lived together.
Oh, yeah, and we were like, should we go?
And
see
we
it?
were like, there's a show. We had a list. We were like, there's a showing. Should we go? Yeah, let's go. I mean, this movie just really got us.
It really did. It really did. Okay, so I have a little bit of trivia. I think Siera, you said you have some too, right?
No, I have my own personal trivia.
Oh, even better. Obsessed.
I can't wait to hear the trivia. I'm
loving
actually
this.
excited to hear
Also,
the
by the way, for the listeners, Siera took her notes
analog style.
like written,
Notebook.
Hold it up
handwritten
for the
notes,
tube.
and I am obsessed.
It's so cute. Siera's such
with
an
the
A student.
handwritten
I
notes.
just like I process writing better than I the laptop is the last resort. for me.
Is that
like
true?
legit love it.
Well, it depends. If I'm really and this is a whole other topic, but if I'm writing an essay, usually I do the laptop, but sometimes things start in my journal.
Huh.
Yeah.
I love.
I like
This is the year of the journal. I'm really trying to commit to my journal.
I really like to
I miss
how
journaling. This is the year of me starting an actual dream journal, which I've always wanted to do.
Oh,
Oh,
And I
girl,
saw
you're gonna get the coolest
this
shit.
musician that I love, Caroline Polachek, was posting screenshots from her dream journal.
so hot you hurt my feelings.
I love her. But yeah, she's posting things from her dream journal. I was
Oh,
like,
cool.
this is the year I want to document my
love
dreams
that.
because, like, yeah,
Love
Anyway.
it. Oh, I
Because your
love.
dreams matter, baby.
more than anyone else's. Yes, yeah.
That's what I always
I'm glad
say.
I'm glad it's been said.
So for the trivia, some of the literally like the amount of people who Will Smith was gonna play him at one point.
It was going to be Will Smith and Beyonce
Clint
when
Eastwood was gonna
and the
direct it at
director,
one
I think,
point.
for that, it was Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
It was going to be
Whoa.
Beyonce and Will Smith.
She got pregnant though.
Yeah.
They said no.
Whoa.
What a different
Also-
movie that would be.
also
But
that-
I kind of
I
would love to see
kind
that.
of want to see that.
Yeah, when they were talking about all the different women that they
So
considered,
different.
and I think Kesha at one point was in the
Shut
What?
the front
which,
door.
by the way, love her, but also what?
I'm sorry, what?
Whoa.
No, that's crazy. I'm sorry. I love Kesha. I am down for Kesha.
The
Oh,
truth is,
wow.
it had to be Lady Gaga. It just
I
had-
mean,
because the crossover
It
of
makes
her,
the most sense.
her background and her I really think so much of why this movie worked, in my opinion, was like everything came together at the way that it needed to.
Yeah.
She knew how to play both sides of someone who struggled with it,
Totally.
someone who has vocals like that.
Yeah.
It was her suggestion that they sing it all live. So that's why Bradley Cooper did so many vocal lessons, because she was like, I would rather us do it live. And I said,
love
"Per."
it. Love it.
Okay.
Love
Lady
it.
Gaga revealed that the climactic scene where Ally sings the song I'll Never Love Again in honor of her late husband Jackson Maine was shot on the same day, even only a couple hours after her best friend Sonia Durham passed away from cancer.
Did you not know this?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oh, it adds
Literally
a
the
whole
same
different-
day. And so in that
What?
featurette that I watched, that was something that they talked about, where she actually left the set that day because she needed, and she said, looked at her friend's husband and he was like, what would she want you to
Ugh,
do?
I get
And then
chills.
she
I
went
can't.
back and they have footage of her talking to
Ugh.
all of the extras and saying like,
chills.
this is, and it's giving me chills too.
I like
This
actually got
is,
chills. 'cause
this is
wild.
what
Yeah.
happened today. And, you know, just
Ooh.
like what in this movie, you know, my my husband has an accident and all that. So if you guys can also just like maybe hold light for her, maybe think of her husband, and maybe that'll help me get through it. I mean, it's stunning. It's beautiful. And like how
it does add layers.
raw
every
and
time I
real
watch
that scene is.
Yeah, every time I watch that scene now, I feel double hit because I'm like, she's actually grieving there.
Crazy.
Watching it
chills.
today, that final scene was, I was like, this is the best acting of the whole thing.
It's incredible.
Just seeing that and that.
I don't know
that
how she
layer
got through it. I don't know how she got through it.
That's called pros do it under pressure. That's what it is.
The show must go on.
Because wow.
And that song already takes me out as it is. Like
completely.
Beep, boop.
Completely.
Bradley worked with a dialect coach to help him sound more like Sam Elliott and try to master the Sacramento, Texas twang. So I thought it was always just about the depth of voice, like the deepness, but he was trying to get a little more of the twang down. That is so unique. And talk about manifestation. Bradley Cooper is the king. He literally started doing that before they booked Sam Elliott because he was like, I wanted to be Sam Elliott. And then he was like, I'm going to be kind of fucked if not. And then Sam Elliott signed on. So I'm like, act as if, bitches.
Yeah.
And I think this now I'm realizing I know more trivia than I thought.
Yes.
In the
Off
featurette, Sam Elliott talks about how Bradley either showed him footage of him talking like that or had audio files of it. And Sam Elliott was blown away.
Oh,
I mean, you would be like,
come on.
The voice is very, he copied his voice very nicely to be brothers.
Willie Nelson's son, Lucas Nelson, co-wrote most of the songs in the film, and he also plays one of the guitarists in the movie. And apparently him, Bradley, and Gaga, it was almost like they became their own little band. And then she went on to do some vocals for him for something because like they had such a rapport. All of that.
He also taught Bradley how to play the guitar. They spent like a year in Bradley's basement teaching him how to play like a musician would and like how to actually perform it.
You know what?
That's like it's like a 4-year development process, I guess.
Mean,
insane.
Okay, so this is interesting.
Get it.
As far as the script that we read, we're a little bit unclear. It says it was the shooting script, but there are two things in here where we learned through trivia that certain things were a little bit at least partially improvised, but the script we read, it's kind of verbatim. So this feels like a mix of, because we've read post-production scripts before and they don't have flair the way that this script has flair.
And this does have some deviations in some of the
small
dialogue that would be in there if it was there for like subtitles.
Agreed. So this seemed, I think this script seems to be, again, we don't know for certain, but it's very, I think they made some dialogue tweaks to maybe fit the improv. But that being said, this is so interesting because I also think this is one of the best scenes in the film. The bathtub fight scene was partially improvised. Jackson calling Allie ugly was improvised. Thus, Lady Gaga's reaction was genuine. The last scene between Allie and Bobby was originally written for her. Oh, sorry. This is separate. That's a separate one. Hold on. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
I mean, that's
the best written scene of the entire script, in my opinion. It is so well done.
When he's like, he had more talent in his fucking finger. Oh. Anyway, this next part I absolutely love. The last scene between Allie and Bobby was originally written for her and her father. But then this is what Sam Elliott said. It seemed like the right thing. The dad would come to commiserate with the daughter. I had wrapped on the film and I got a text from Bradley. I got an idea. What if ... And I texted him back and I said, fuck, just let me know when you want me there. That's why he decided it should have been Bobby, and it's so right. They had this relationship, and it was a terrible relationship. They loved each other clearly, but it was a terrible relationship. Never resolved, unrequited. That was one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me, to have me come back and do that. But it's really the better. It's a way better choice
for the story. I think it's
because we already have her moment with her dad, where her dad is saying, "It's my fault. You don't have that kind of power, Dad." We hear her say, who took, who wrote the song, all that stuff." That we had that. We needed the only other person who knew him as well in his own way as his brother to look her in the face and say, "This is not your fault."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just loved that.
Much more poignant to have Bobby be the one in that scene for sure.
Cooper considered a different film ending where Jackson and Allie performed "Shallow" as the final song, which would have had Jackson being spared, given that his counterparts in the previous 3 versions die in the end of their respective films. Jackson's suicide was originally going to be swimming out into the ocean to drown, as it is in the 1937 one and the 1954 versions. This is foreshadowed here both by his interest in swimming while in rehab and the lyrics of the song "Shallow."
Oh my God.
Cooper claimed that even though he scouted the beach where the scene would be filmed, however, just before they went to the location, Cooper had a vision of it in the garage and decided that would be the way it ended instead.
It's much more raw to do.
So raw.
It is. And I we'll get into it later. It's again not a flaw, but it is there. I noticed something this time that I actually do want to talk about later about that though. I
have thoughts about it that'll be in my assessments.
Okay, what was your script score, Siera?
Well,
we'll start with you since we know what it
Give
was.
it
Well, so okay, let me say just before I give my score, I really have not read, other than different projects that I've done. I haven't done on-camera acting for several years, but so I've read scripts in that realm, but that was always like under the umbrella of like, I'm gonna do this project. So I haven't read a lot of scripts, and so I was curious, especially knowing a film as well as I knew it, how I would feel reading it. I gave it a 10. And I gave it a 10 because, and I really had to work to go like, try to just stop thinking of the movie and really focus on the words on the page. And there were things that I appreciated a lot that I felt if I had just read it as it was, I would have been so interested in seeing that film. And I think both what you guys had said was like, there felt like there was flourish to the script. It really painted the picture well for me. And so it was a 10 for me. It was a 10 for me because I also, I'm not quite as aware of different structure things or stuff like that, but I noticed I just really liked the flow of it. I thought it told the story really well.
Pewien, what's yours?
Mine, I kind of fluctuated a little bit because I thought that it was a great script. It's hard to say that it's not a great script. There was one thing in particular that kind of knocked it down for me. I gave it an 8.2 is what I landed on. I did fluctuate quite a bit. This is what I wrote. I said, the strong suit of this script is that it is a really beautiful mix of very real, very lived in dialogue, which again, some of that might've been, but for the most part, the dialogue, the whole thing is very good.
Yeah.
So lived in dialogue and the characters that almost kind of feel like they have chemistry, like even on the page, which is unique. You don't always feel that way. It also provides those kind of exaggerated movie moments that really scratch that little itch for us that's what I think the juxtaposition of like, it's very real dialogue, but then we absolutely have moments where we're like, and she's starting to sing in the middle of a parking lot. Yes. Because this is a movie and it works. But so it was kind of a good mix of that. For me, the greatest connection point is having loved people who have struggled with addiction and also having lost someone to suicide. It feels like a very raw and honest portrayal of the disease and its complexities in an interpersonal way, but also externally and how it affects other people. I said, I think the weaker point though, is that it holds your hand a bit too much. For a script that doesn't indulge in a lot of physical descriptions in a scene, which I actually loved, it does indulge in a lot of inner monologue of the characters at times in a smart way, and then other times where it just absolutely felt like my hand was being held. I think the dialogue being very real and kind of cut off, and the scenes are never really too long helped, but I hit a point in the script where I was like, I don't actually need you to tell me all this filler right now. I'm right there. Like I'm right there.
There's a lot, especially towards the end.
And it felt like maybe that was part of, they did that because they really peeled back a lot on like description of, you very rarely know where someone is, like where their body is in a scene, which is fine. But so I felt, although I did note, from a formatting standpoint, I loved what they did with the parentheticals in this. They utilized them differently. I have a couple examples. Where you normally people would have put a lot of what they put in parentheticals in like a sentence action descriptor, but they put it in parentheticals in a way that I kind of loved. So
for the new descript reading, what is a parenthetical?
Parenthetical is the words that are in the
underneath the name of the dialogue box.
When or as you see beat, that's a parenthetical.
Yeah.
Okay.
They put descriptions in there, which again, that's normal, but the way they use them was kind of unique and I really liked it. So that was my score. What's your score, Daddy?
8.5 out of 10.
Yours was higher than mine.
I was gonna give it. Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
I was gonna do like an 8.3, but then I just landed on 8.5 just because it did give me a new kind of appreciation for the story. This is what I wrote after reading. I said, the script is undeniably well crafted and reading it has made me appreciate the story so much more. You don't get dialogue like this from a script that's not well executed. The dialogue is really what put the 0.5 there. The dialogue is
very good.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good dialogue. Yeah. I said, almost every scene feels real and at times even voyeuristic, like we shouldn't be listening in on this couple's private conversations. From page 1, we are firmly set on the tracks, getting to know Jackson and Allie's broad stroke character qualities within the first 5 pages, and it builds from there. Although I will say that I enjoyed the first half more than the second. I've struggled with enjoying this film ever since it came out, never fully being able to connect with Jackson's character despite having dealt with substance abuse issues myself. I think for me, the main sticking point with Jackson's tragic demise is that his suicide feels like it comes out of left field, but not in a way that is earned for me. Sure, his impetus is set up by Rez's condemnation and Allie pulling down the European leg of her tour, but overall his death feels like a sympathy grab that doesn't fully work for me. However, after reading the script, while I still don't feel as deeply connected towards him as I'd prefer, and I know I'm an outlier in this regard, I am able to appreciate what a beast of an adaptation this was to take on, and they really did a good job with it overall. I have more of like further things of like why I feel that way about the suicide,
That's super
which
interesting.
I have it in my things, but I have like a deeper exploration. That's where I figured it's like, okay, that's why it doesn't hit me as much
Interesting.
because it just kind of pops up.
Got it.
But anyway,
Interesting.
What
Script
movie
scores.
score?
Oh yeah, movie score.
Oh,
Sierra's
Wait.
like, it's a 3 for me.
so I will say that the 1976 version is a 4 for me.
Okay.
The
Sorry, Barbara.
B Coop, it has nothing to do with Barbara. She gets a 10 for me.
It's wild.
But 2018 B Coop, Gaga, that's a 10, baby. It's a 10. It's a 10. It's a 10. And I guess I can talk. I was trying to. It's really hard for me to sum up fully like what it is about this movie. But I think that the thing that I keep coming back to, especially because I've had multiple conversations with people who have not loved it, like there is something to me about this adaptation. Also knowing that Bradley Cooper is sober, correct?
Yeah. He is.
So he has obviously experienced his own struggles, and so he understands it in a very, very, very deep way.
That was part of the trivia set that they
Yeah.
said he connected to it because he was
Right.
like, he knew his own abuse.
I feel like the movie asks the question, what does love look like amidst addiction to alcohol, to drugs, to fame?
Yeah.
Fame is a huge part of it. And I think it's a really vulnerable portrayal of addiction. And also it to me feels like it pulls back layers of what it is like to love an addict, to love someone who ultimately does not overcome their addiction or, goes into sobriety or whatever it is. And I think that a lot of the time when we see things in media, it's very black and white. And this movie, I think, did a better job of just showing the two of them. I was so enamored with them, even in the script. Like immediately I was like, I just care so deeply for both of these people.
You believe they're falling in love in a way that you almost shouldn't, but you
right.
do.
And I think to me, it just was such an interesting portrayal of the beautiful moments that happen in a relationship where addiction is also looming over it, and the pain and the loss. And it's just a 10. I think that the music is stunning. The soundtrack is incredible. The fact I didn't realize that they sung live. Love that. There are moments that I can even relate to in my own life, more the idea of like a star being born. The scene where she finally goes out on stage with him and she sings gets me. I cry every time because you can tell she has lived.
Yeah.
Stephanie, Lady Gaga, has lived this. You could see it all over her, what that moment would be like. And I think that is, I have written in here the idea that he adores her from the moment he lays eyes on her. If I've ever seen a masterclass in what love at first sight looks like, it is when she is laying on the bar and you look at his face looking at her. That is literally the definition of love at first sight. And then if you notice how often he is looking at her with adoration, when he brings her on stage, all of that, to me, I felt like, and I won't go too in depth, I don't know how we want to do the comparison between movies. What I struggled with in the 1976 one was she felt like a thing to me for him. I didn't feel like Allie was a thing to Jackson. And I felt like in the 1976 version, what was it? John and Esther, those were the names. It just felt like he didn't adore her. He wanted to possess her. He wanted her, I can't lose you, I need you, whatever. Whereas with Jackson and Allie, it definitely felt like they were soulmates of a certain kind. And so a 10. I
did a 9.3. And I feel like, because I was like, I kept going back and forth because like my emotional truth was like, it could be a 10 just in how much I enjoy it. And that I've seen this movie more than I've seen a lot of other films. And every time I watch it, I'm fully engaged and fully enjoying it. But I felt like watching it this time just like with a little more of a zoom out and going like, if I'm going out of emotion a little bit and I'm doing like, I'm trying to whatever, I was able to detect certain things that like didn't take me out, but at least gave me pause. But I feel it probably could be a 9.5. Honestly, it lives somewhere between there for me. But yeah, I feel similarly in that I felt like it also made me realize like how it doesn't feel often that we see movies where men like actually genuinely adore the woman that they're with. Like actually adore. And it made me go like, fuck, I wish we saw that more. Like, because in the original film, he definitely, I think, is clear. It's a little weird how he cherry picks her and then is suddenly upset. You definitely believe it more in like their meet cute feels far more realistic in this movie than in the original.
Yes.
Like he literally sees her like serving caviar and he's like obsessed with her.
Very bizarre in the 30s.
It's very weird.
Yeah, they build that more out in the 50s one.
But what I will say for the original that I wonder like he took and like ran with times 1,000 is that I did feel like once you get past like the original part where you're like, he's obsessed with her and he saw her for 5, whatever, in a weird context too, was that he just trusted she had talent. Whereas like with this film,
he sees
her talent and you can understand why like the wheels were turning for him differently. Whereas in the original, he sees her serving caviar and is like, she's a star. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
But that being said, the general tone of the original was that I do feel like we were meant to believe he adored her, but there was just a lot ish like that but again, he does. Not like this. Whereas like Bradley, it felt like it was just like, I'm all in, I'm all here, whatever. But yeah, I just felt like I just love this movie. I feel like voyeuristic is a great descriptor for some of the scenes where you do almost feel like it feels like such like when they're in the parking lot together, I'm like, they're like, because again, some of these moments I'm like, oh my God, she just started singing.
Right. But you know what? In the script, it reads so cheesy, but the performance, she pulls it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I guess if you were, okay, sure. Like they did it well enough that I could suspend disbelief.
Moment.
Yes.
But also it harkens back to the 70s one, because in the 70s one, John, the character that is in this one, Jackson, John writes his music totally off the cuff. He plays a guitar and he just ad-libs the lyrics, and that's how he writes. So Allie does that in that parking lot scene. So it's harkening back to that.
That makes me really like that.
So like it's like her talent is just like, and then she's like, oh well, that could actually be a chorus for the song I was writing a couple days ago. And then she's like,
oh, that's cool. I like that.
It's interesting.
Go ahead.
My movie score
is a 2.3.
Is an 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. It's a good movie. For me, it's not a great movie.
But an 8 out of 10 feels higher than good.
Yeah.
In a score format,
I gave it a solid B.
Okay.
Here's what I wrote. And I will expand upon some of these different things. My issues with the script are directly echoed in the movie, not only because what we read is nearly verbatim to what's on screen with a few tiny deviations in dialogue, but also because I do not feel the performances that deliver the depth necessary to truly hit the story home, for me personally, when dealing with the material at hand. While Bradley Cooper is good in the role, I've never been able to empathize with him beyond a surface level of concern, and I'm still unable to shake the feeling that Jackson's tragic arc feels forced and overtly sudden, but not in the shocking gut punch way I'd expect from a twist like that. Lady Gaga gets the job done, but only just so, also leaving more to be desired on screen and at times leaning almost completely into melodrama. As with the script, I'm in enemy territory. I know, I'm just joking. As with the script, I enjoyed the first half of the movie more than the second. While I can appreciate the legacy franchise of it all, I find myself wishing they had woven in a bit more of the commentary from the previous versions about how the entertainment industry not only creates, but perpetuates substance abuse issues in order to keep milking a cash cow.
Okay.
So that's my main issue with this, is that...
Although that's not in the original.
It's not.
Yeah.
In the 1976 version,
they are very overt with it.
Bobby's not his brother in the 1976 version, right? He's like more the manager.
Like a roadie manager kind of guy.
Constantly plying John Jackson with coke, alcohol. I mean, it is almost,
Yeah.
if he's on screen, he is facilitating some type of drug use.
Like that's why, like, so the storytelling aspect of the addiction in this one is like Jackson's just an addict, and like not just an addict. I shouldn't be disparaging towards addiction that way. He is an addict. But when the previous versions, well, the 70s one, which this one is closest, the 2018 version is closest to the 70s one. In the 70s one, it shows the pressures of the industry to keep a person going and how all the people around you are supporting your addiction and enabling you, and how it's kind of like, how can he ever expect to overcome this addiction when the world that he's entrenched in needs him to be addicted? And in this one, that's taken out. And it's just it's on Jackson as being this, and I would have liked to see a bit more of a take where it's like, yes, he's an addict, but these are the situations and like these are the people around him that are upholding that and not helping that, and all of that industry like cautionary tale of it all is boiled down into Rez's character. And Rez has and like he's the only person who's sitting there being like, who just he's like, it's almost like was eye roll to me with him being so callous about like almost like wanting Jackson to get to this point of breaking, where like just because like after watching the other ones, I was like, oh, I can see where these storylines came through. And then the suicide of it all for me is that there are obviously times, I feel like a lot of the times when people commit suicide, you don't see it coming. People talk all the time about how people's life gets better before because they've resigned to this fate for themselves. And so that's okay for a suicide to come out of the blue like that. But for Jackson, and I think this part of it plays for me on Bradley's performance, where like he's good, but I didn't ever like care if he got better, because like I never saw the side of him like, yeah, he is there. Like I liked him better on the page because I got to read the dialogue and be in those moments with them and see that he cares for her and he's there for her. And that's the side of him that she can see that no one else sees, is that and they also do the thing where like he gets the Cheetos for his driver. He asks the driver about his son. Like he picks up on things and he notices these things about people and he'll be there. And he's very much there for Allie. But then, and so like, that wasn't enough for me to care. And then before he kills himself, like 7 pages before that, there's this brief moment that's put into he's talking about his dad and how the Victrola or whatever that he put his head into. And then he mentions that he tried to kill himself at 13. So it just comes out of the blue and it's like to try and get his dad's attention.
That was for me in this. I don't think I've ever noticed that before, but in this viewing, again, looking at this from this perspective, from a critical perspective, I didn't like the suicide did not feel random to me at all. It tracked for me fully, but what did take away from it slightly for me this time was that it felt like if that was information that we were going to use and we were going to harken back to the fact that, oh, he ended up killing himself the same way he tried when he was younger. I think that information being far earlier in the script and kind of forgotten, and then the extra gut punch of realizing, oh my God, he's doing it the same way he tried as a child would have hit differently. Whereas something about putting it so close in the rehab, like it's so close to
A to B for me,
that
where
it felt like the
he tried to kill himself and now he might do it again.
And it also kind of felt like, given the nature of how the main thing that we know to be true about Jackson is how much he loves and adores Allie, that it was like, why would you do it in a way that you know she'd have to come home and see that part?
Well, he probably figured she wouldn't, that someone else, that she'd send a car.
But even still, it felt like one of those things where again, not a real life perspective, solely from a storytelling perspective, I went like, ooh, I wish we had learned this information that he had tried this as a trick, because it is interesting to hear such a young child, but it also showed that he's been struggling with depression his whole life. It has no tools, has no we were talking about how the dad's 63 and got an 18-year-old pregnant.
Yeah.
Just shy of 18.
So like, and then how he says, like, it was just me and my dad. My brother was gone trying to make his, like, there's so much there that I just wish it was like information he would have told like Allie or someone else far earlier, But there was that part of me where it was like, I will say, and Scott and I talked about this, but I do think how the suicide was shot is actually one of the most like tasteful ways
Absolutely.
I've ever seen. I remember when I saw it in theaters, I was filming an indie film that was like very Young Lion of the West, was like very dark and heavy. And we were like, let's go see A Star is Born while we're filming this. And I remember being like, just like sobbing at the end, but being like, that is like, as a person where suicide has affected my larger family, going like, that is the most tasteful I've ever seen it done, which I did really respect. But looking at it from a critical eye, I was like, it did feel like that's an interesting way for him to choose to do it. Although I know a lot of times the way someone chooses has far more to do with their own experience. But it just felt like his whole world kind of became her, that it was just like, oh, interesting.
And I think what is interesting, it's so fast. This is what I love this podcast so much, because it's so fun to have these conversations and to make you think about something, like even for me, that I love so much. And I think to me, it's almost like that idea when you're given a note and it's like, oh, this actually further makes me realize why I like what I did, or like that kind of thing. Yeah. I guess as someone who is more of a viewer in I don't like the word critic, but like in the non-critic sense, I actually picked up more on that idea when he's talking to the in-house therapist guy. That to me felt like this time, like, oh, I didn't even kind of realize that he was talking about how, at 13, he tried to commit suicide the exact way he ends up doing it. And I think what this movie could be highlighting is the idea that he does love Allie so much, but he was vulnerable enough that this res got to him in such a short window between finally getting home and readjusting to what life looks like at home now and not living in a facility, and knowing that like he does love her and he doesn't want to impede her success. He knows how deeply he embarrassed her. That the second that Rez shows up on screen, even outside the bus.
I literally wrote over and over again, I'm like,
God,
Rez
I hate him.
Villain, Rez
I
is the villain.
hate that character,
villain.
but it's really interesting
his little face.
when you say that it's almost like they made all of the pieces of the industry go into him. But isn't it interesting, though, that he's not really facilitating his addiction? He's almost poking the bear, like, just get rid of it all. Get rid of yourself already. Just get out of the scenario, in the same way that he doesn't really respect Allie's actual talent. I wrote in here when she says, it gets me every time. It just cracks me up because it's so real when they're doing the dancers and all that. She's like, right, I just want to I don't want to lose the part of me that's like talented.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's because he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
And I think that is something I noticed this time, where I was like, what's frustrating about Rez is he constantly talks to Jackson and other people as if that's his girl. Like, that's and you're like, she is a paycheck.
And
you
yet
ignored everything she's ever wanted.
And the second she's in the recording studio for the first time, he's on his phone the whole time because she's not doing what he wants her to be doing. And even is dismissive to Jackson. And then Jackson ends up facilitating this incredible moment where she just kills it. And then he's looking at him like, oh, okay. But what I think is, hate him. What's so interesting is then the idea, I think, when Rez says that, and then she comes home immediately and is like, oh, no, we're not doing, and he knows damn well.
100%.
Rez isn't, no, that's not what, he's going, if I love her, and it's heartbreaking, but if I love her, then then maybe the best thing is that I'm not around anymore. So she can't be embarrassed by it. I mean, it's
obviously something he's thought 1,000 times.
Absolutely. And now he's like, okay. I mean, the final gesture of making the steak for the dog really hit me for some reason in this watch. The idea of like how he is caring for others. Like, he wanted to be like, okay, well, I know how much Charlie loves me, so I'm going to make him like a special thing. And then Charlie curled up outside the garage. I did not.
Shot is like,
oh my God.
And you can see him. You can see him in there. It's very small, but like you can see his body swinging. It's so
horrendous.
Fucking crazy.
I had no clue what was coming because I really had no reference point of the original films. And I mean, in the theater, I remember I saw this with one of my best friends and her sister. We were inconsolable walking out of that movie because I did not see that coming. I didn't realize that was kind of the arc of the Star is Born world. It's just fascinating.
And I feel like for me too, like the Allie and him embarrassing her on the scale in which he embarrasses her is pretty massive.
Huge. Huge.
But that being said, I also think why it worked for me, but it's so interesting to hear what you're saying, because I was like, that is fucking interesting, but is that you're already seeing one of the things I find interesting about the whole fucking thing is that he takes so much pride in being an artist.
Mhm.
He's like, that is like what you fucking say up there matters, right?
Yes.
Like he's so, and he instills that in her from get-go. Like,
and
what you have to say is
repetitively,
over and over and over again, which he's really talking to himself as well.
Mhm.
And he clearly feels like he's not a person who's soul to soul, but then it through his like lyrics and music, but then we start seeing you got to do the pharmaceutical thing to pay the bills, you got to do the whatever.
Yeah.
That you see he's starting to have to kind of sell his soul in a different way, and that's when you start seeing the addiction get worse and worse and worse. No one's really checking in too much on it because it's just Jackson doing Jackson.
Yeah. Which is
I
its
did
own
think it
form
was
of
interesting
enabling.
though that there was no even attempt at any point, again from a storytelling standpoint, to acknowledge at some point like, has he tried rehab before? Like it's so like that's Jackson
Mhm.
that I did think it would have benefited from somebody, even Bobby saying to her like, good luck trying, doesn't work type thing.
Yeah.
Because there was even though again I'm like, I know she clearly grew up with her dad as an addict because she says that
so
to
it
him,
feels normalized
but you're
to
like
her.
it feels normal to her in a way where she maybe wouldn't be like, hey, let's get your ass,
Because her dad, I
rehab.
guess, is still functioning and he's still
But
like,
that
you
see his own trajectory. It's like he's mourning what's happening to his own career and
Mhm.
and his own whatever, while also this hit me more this time, how he is mourning that her fame is coming from not actually being herself. That it's he celebrates her success
like
but
almost immediately.
But it's almost like you see that he's kind of tortured. Like I do think he thinks in some ways he failed her because he's like, I wasn't trying to just give you fame because fame's the thing that's also killing me.
Yeah.
I was trying to give you it in a way that would be better than what I did. And that wasn't working, even though none of that really matters because how Allie feels is what fucking matters.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's why that part of it pisses me off because like it's like we're supposed to think like the implication is that he's watching out for her and he knows what's best for her, but like they never for a second take the time to be like, maybe Allie wants to be a pop star. Rez is a piece of shit and he's pushing her down like a kind of like to be not necessarily her most authentic self, but Allie did write those songs, like, and Lady Gaga as a person is a pop star, and there's kind of this disparaging take on pop music in this movie that I'm kind of like, it would have been a little bit more interesting for me to see a little bit of nuance with her being like, what if I do want to do this? Like, sticking up for like, yeah, Rez, maybe, but like. This idea that like he knows what's best for her and he's the savior, I just kind of like.
But the annoying part is she's surrounded by that in both places,
right?
Yeah. And I also think there's something kind of her hair being black or like dark
brownish,
brown at the end when he
and
passes,
with almost like no makeup.
I felt like that was their gesture of like a return to
She's
self.
Yeah.
Well, even when she brings the love song to him in rehab and he says, well, I thought maybe you find it when you come back to yourself kind of thing. The look on her face, she says so much by saying nothing. Like,
you can tell she's
I found it.
Mm-hmm. That moment hit me more this time too, where I was like, kind of an assholey thing to say.
But also, I thought about the layer of rehab. Like he's being honest. He's taking the risk and being honest. And if you think about it, the music she was writing before Rez came in and the machine took over was more raw and like had depth to it. And again, pop music is, I mean, we love, but it was so fascinating to watch the idea of what the machine looks like. And that part of the movie really starts to bother me.
They chose, I would like to say on purpose, some of the worst pop. I mean, to do that is absolute garbaggio trash.
When he comes into the bathroom drunk and says, "Why you come around with an ass like that?" And she's like, those are my lyrics. Those are
but what's so potent about that is you can tell she isn't proud of it. No, but she's pissed because it's like he can't just pat her on the back. It has to be like whatever. But it plays with the. But coming back to one of the things you said about the performance. I thought about that was one of the things I noticed this time. I will stand by the fact that Bradley did it for me in the sense that he's 10 out of 10 attractive to me in this film. He disappears completely.
He does disappear for me
in a way that I was actually shook at because I've always thought he was a good actor, but in this way, I was like, oh, this was your baby because he actually disappears for me in this, which I didn't expect, but he actually really does. I think that Lady Gaga is such a powerhouse woman, and I am in awe of her. When I saw her in concert many, many years ago, I remember looking at my friend Allie and going like, how is this tiny little woman possess more power in her pinky than truly. That being said, I do think that there are chemistry filled gaps where there were a few moments when I was watching it again with a slightly more critical eye where I was like, yeah, there were some moments that I think someone who had been acting on screen longer would have been able to add a little bit more to. There were definitely moments I noticed this time on her end more for me where I was like, oh, this. But that being said, for me, they had such good chemistry that I was like, I'm just going to focus on that.
I mean, it's some of the best chemistry I've ever seen in a romantic film. That and The Notebook. I mean, you know, Ryan Gosling and their chemistry really happens immediately. Whereas, like, you know, I was comparing it a little bit to the 1976. I was kind of like, she seemed more kind of like, that movie also just felt like it was 4 hours long to me. It's about the same runtime, but
the 1950s one is almost 3 hours long.
Oh my goodness.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
And then the 70s one's like 2 hours and 15.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
Well, and in the 1930s one, I think you start to see that, like, you're shown through scenes that they love each other, but they don't have chemistry.
It's almost like a pantomime.
Yes,
that 30s one, where it's like performing like we love each other so much, I can't get enough.
But my fave was that the original line that then got changed slightly, but is in the OG is, "Do you mind if I take one more look?"
Oh, so that was
it's a
through
runner
line.
throughout the entire franchise.
Love.
Mm-hmm.
I do love.
I love
because
that.
they found their own spin in this one, in the 2018 one. I love that I'm obsessed.
Well, that comes from the 70s one.
Really?
Yeah, Barbara does that.
Oh, okay. Love. Do they talk
Does she
about
do
her
it
nose
when?
in that one?
Does she do it when he says that to her though? I don't
she
think
says something about her nose or something, but she
does that, but not to his. Yeah.
In this one, which I thought was really nice, like. One thing I find very unique about A Star is Born in all these different movies is that each movie makes direct, deliberate references to the previous ones, but in different contexts, and it expands upon these different themes, which I think I can't off the top of my head think of any other movie that has multiple remakes that does that and honors the legacy that it comes from, which I think, aside from my thoughts or whatever, I think that's really fucking special and really cool to see a creative legacy being brought forward and brought to new audiences through different contexts. I thought that's really fucking special to see.
Yeah. Like the bathtub scene is almost identical in the 1976 and the 2018. Yeah. She's doing makeup on him and doing the whole,
And that's like a reference into when he says, oh, this hasn't been done before. And she says, oh, it has. That's a reference to the 70s one. It's,
Yeah.
Well, and also, did you notice in the OG, obviously drag is not part of it, but they're experimenting with different eyebrows on her.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought she's, because in the OG, they're both movie star, or she becomes, Esther becomes, she wants to be an actress and he's a leading man, and then he screen tests her, she pops off, whatever. But when they're screen testing her, they have her, and it's almost like she's in drag. They have her in this chair and they're penciling on these different eyebrows. And I was like, I love that we found like a way to do that. That's so freaking fun and gorge.
Yeah, they do a bit of that in the 50s one where she's like in the makeup chair for like all these hours, and they do this insane look on Judy Garland, and then Howard, I think is his name in that one, comes and sees her, doesn't recognize her, and she's like, "It's me." And then he looks at her and is like, "Oh, that doesn't work at all." And so like, and then he takes her back to his dressing room, takes the makeup off, and he does her makeup. Boy. That's my other gripe with this story. Okay. And this is a gripe I had that I thought was unique to the 2018 one. But I'm realizing it's just the creative DNA of this story and the way this story is told. And maybe I'm being more harsh about it. I might be looking too into it. Maybe it's not that deep. But one of my biggest sticking points with the story is that I hate how the star that's being born is always in reference to the man. In the 1930s one, the 1950s one, both of those movies end with her getting up on stage and saying, "It's me, Mrs. John Maine."
Oh.
And that's how the story ends, is that it's supposed to be her saying his legacy lives on in me.
Yeah.
As a creative, I get that. But like, it's always, this woman now is always going to be in reference to this man, not only because he helped make her, but because her story is always going to be told in reference to the suicide that he did. And so like, she's never going to be able to overcome that legacy, which is fine, whatever. But that like then in the 70s one, it's like, and they change that and she's a musician and he doesn't commit suicide in the 70s one. He dies in a car crash, which I like that change. That was fun.
I mean, I don't think, it was interesting because my husband asked me about this because he was watching my face watching the 1976 one.
It's a wild ride.
It's a wild ride. And I, obviously in knowing the 2018 where he commits suicide, I knew that then obviously there would be a death in the end of this movie. And I said, do you, and my husband pointed out, he was like, but remember in the 70s, like there was drinking and driving going on. So I don't know if it would be as deliberate a suicide attempt. That wasn't clearly a suicide attempt, but he was being reckless. When he got in the car, he was choosing to drive extremely recklessly while drinking.
Yeah. In the previous movies, they show him swimming out into the ocean.
Oh, okay.
And so that shot of the car driving off to the horizon, I thought was a fun reference back to that, like this big wide expanse of the desert. But I thought the same thing. I was like, was it? It's a little ew.
Could be
slightly, maybe subconsciously intentional, but yeah. When she finds his dead body in that one, it's so crazy.
It's
gentle with him.
But again, you know what though? The 1976 one felt like it was just thrust into the film. I was thrown into it. So I was kind of like discombobulated. And then I was sort of adjusting to, this is a familiar story, but it's different and all of that. And I just was I text you, I was so frustrated by John's character. And so I could understand now someone watching this version, if they even had reference, knew the source material, being like, yeah, there's another man that's just, whatever. And I just felt like John's death, John/Jack's death in the 1976 movie felt so much more inevitable because he was reckless constantly.
Yeah.
And the motorcycle on stage and falling off the stage. And then he's
motorcycle bit
was so weird.
Crazy.
That was so bizarre. I was literally going, if I were Esther, I'd be like, bye.
Yeah,
but I guess that's part of the point is.
And then they ditch her in the desert.
Literally leave her.
How did you get home? You took a helicopter here. How far out of LA are you?
No cell phone, no Uber.
And they leave her.
No, it's so, that makes, sorry. That makes it even more insane that she sticks around.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt more in the 2018 version, I understood they had their own little world, that really felt intimate and loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I watched that 2018 when I was like, God, I hate how it's like A Star is Born, but it's all about Jackson Maine and like his tragic demise. But then like now watching the other ones, I realized, okay, that's the story.
Yeah.
And then the thing I realized is that the reason that it doesn't click through to me and I wasn't able to see beyond that is because Bradley is good for me, but he didn't ever like, he's caring for her, but I didn't ever believe that like this is like the love of his life.
Oh, that's so interesting.
No.
Oh my God.
I don't feel it at all. Like
wow.
And you know where I felt it? Wow. On the page. I felt the connection more on the page. That's why when I watched the movie, because I read the story and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna get it this time when I watch it. This is my third time watching the movie. And I watched it and I was like, I don't get it because Jackson pisses me the fuck off. Like, I think he's enamored with her, but I think the whole like storyline, which is again, this is in all of them, that he feels so emasculated when she starts to get famous, and that's legitimate. Like that's a great creative beat. It's real and honest. But the fucking cream puff scene.
Oh yeah,
she just laughs it off. Why are you so jealous, boy? Tee hee hee ha ha. Let's fuck. Like. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
You didn't immediately get the ick by this man being so fucking...
But doesn't that speak more to the idea of the Esthers or the alley of it, where you are drawn to a person that you also feel like you're going to fix? Because she references her dad. You know all about, he has problems with drinking. You know all about that. Like, I think that also is a nod more to the idea of like, not you accept the love you think you deserve, but to a certain extent, I think there probably is a part of her that feels, and it's true because I felt that way more in this last watching, like, ugh, gross. That's gross. Like the whole time he's like, he just keeps drinking and but you could also see with her, she's like, yeah, whatever, he's fine. He does this all the time. Like she's kind of rolling her eyes like, whatever, dude. Like, okay, well, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. But no, for sure.
She's also learned to accept this behavior from him, which
absolutely.
That's fun. I love when she's like, oh, he does this all the time. She just brushes it off when he's like a mess.
But also like,
and like you see her doing the big shot of tequila before going on stage. You see she's in his orbit and she's kind of accepting this as normal.
Well, but let's also like like, I have not walked down this path, but this just kind of opened my brain. Just for the sake of conversation, she also is having her entire life be changed because of him.
Yeah.
In the sense that her talent is hers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it does make you go, is she? And I also I prefer to watch it with the belief that these two people are soulmates. It feels that way to me. That being said, the human part of both of us, that childlike part of him that's like, good for you, whatever. I'm going to get drunk and I don't give a fuck. And the part of her that's willing to look past it because she's like, I still kind of he gave me an opportunity no one else has.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was told by every other industry person that knows the look wasn't having it. This dude is handing it to me, seemingly asking for nothing.
Yeah.
That I also think that would also put your blinders up a little bit where you're like, yeah, this is just how he is.
Totally.
When if he had nothing to do with her success, wholly different dynamic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it feels
Totally
like that's
agree.
also like her blind spot where it's like, this person is getting me these opportunities. So I'm
he's her into the industry, and also he's like her safe space, as
both.
well as being the chaos, a tornado of chaos for her. But like that's even hit home more when it's when she first meets Rez coming off stage, and he's like, I'm the person that can put you anywhere, and I know what you need to be, and you have the whole package. And like she's like in awe, she's like, oh my God, she's like, I got to talk to Jackson about this.
Yeah.
And I like to see that narrative run in where she's like, he is like, is it her in here? He's her safe space and all these things. So like I get this like all encompassing view of it. And like from a storytelling aspect, totally get that. And this time around, I did realize, I think for me, it is just the performance on Bradley's part that didn't make me feel the love, which then doesn't make me
That's fair.
as sad
you don't feel
at his demise. Especially then with it being kind of like I said, I'm not going to go over it again, feeling like it come out of the blue for me a little bit. But yeah.
Should we do a little bit of pagey notes?
I think we better. I only have a few.
Yeah, I don't have a ton. My first one is page 2. What's yours?
My first one's page 1 through 4.
Oh,
I think
you're gonna read the whole
there's
thing.
I think though that the page 1 of this script is fucking fantastic. It is a great page 1. The opening line of action is really fucking good. It opens with over black. We hear a distant crowd becoming restless, a guitar being tuned, buying time. Buying time.
Yeah.
Being able to indicate these like
those
and then you
feelings.
see Jackson there like doing a shot and stuff like all these like you get that he's an addict right here. He's kind of like he's causing some trouble and shit like that. All these little characterizations of Jackson are told immediately through seeing it and not being told it, which I thought it's in the first like 4 pages of the script are great because they set up Jackson and Allie's character, like I said, immediately. And you see them in their environment. You see what's working, what's not working. And that's fucking great storytelling.
That's actually part of, I literally wrote the beginning perfectly sets up where these two are in their lives before meeting. And I wrote, it's proof that it could be simple. Yeah. So like, you know exactly where he's at and where she's at.
And you're meeting Allie on page 2.
Yeah.
You're not making a meal of it.
You don't tell. It absolutely is. Her and her cute little, when she screams and goes, fucking men. It is such a good line read. It is so
so good.
It's great on the page and she absolutely killed that moment.
I love that moment too, because through her dialogue of this breakup with this guy where she's not taking shit, he's like essentially begging her to marry him. That's already showing like Allie has this energy that like men are like moth to the flame kind of like she has this quality about her. That's at least what it telescoped to me. Through that is like this man's like begging her to be with him and she's like
and she
no
and
she's not she's not going to settle and she's a ball buster and like that's a version of Allie's kind of a ball but like the 70s one she's a ball buster too but like I love the Gaga version of it too where you do like it just
because even when she meets him I think she's more like what is going on like I don't she says that multiple times in the first interaction with him in both the drag in the drag bar and then also when they go to the cop bar like she's kind of going like I don't even know what this is. I don't understand what this is. And I think but she has it is interesting that although she could have had her be a little more starstruck, she's more just kind of like
protective.
What's happening? Like and then immediately protective over him.
Yeah.
I also will say and this is I don't remember if this was in the script the title card perfectly framing her.
Yeah. It's
when
good.
she's going up is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like want a print of that hanging in my home.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the font that they use for the title card is the same font from the Judy Garland one, I think. Or really similar,
Well, and
which I
she's
really
singing,
like that.
She's singing
Right,
Somewhere
yeah.
Over the Rainbow.
Mhm.
Also a great little wink.
Mhm.
Is it Ramon?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, had a brain fart for a second. Page 2, I loved this description. She walks past various catering servers and staff with her best friend, Ramon. He's an aspiring dancer with this, I can't say it. Sinewy.
Oh, sinewy?
Sinewy?
Sinewy.
Is it sinewy?
Sinewy body like a swimmer, flamboyant, wonderful.
Mhm.
A really smart use of descriptors because despite the fact that I could not pronounce that word, it was like, that is exactly who that actor, how that actor played it. It was like
flamboyant, wonderful is a great beat boop.
and like a
bring it
body
to
like a
round out his
swimmer
character.
too.
Mhm.
Like it
Yeah.
just a gorgeous way of taking feeling words and visual words,
Yeah.
which is my favorite character descriptions. Give me a little feel and a little vis.
This script felt a little bit like reading a novel to me.
That would explain the slight handholdy over a little overindulgence in the inner monologue.
Yeah. It works, but then towards about the last 20 pages is when I really noticed it, and I wrote a daddy don't. Getting ahead of myself. Always getting ahead of myself with the daddy don'ts.
Always.
But yeah, I didn't clock it until those ending pages where I was like, oh, they are kind of telling us how we should be feeling and what they're thinking.
Which is probably why I gave it a 10, because I'm such an avid reader that I was like, oh, I like this experience.
I didn't notice it up until then. And there are moments in here where I would argue you need it. Like there's some really well done action moments.
No, there are absolutely moments where you need it. It was just a bummer to me that they were using moments where I'm like, you don't need this here. I don't need to hear this here.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
Pages 10 through 15.
So I just wanted to point out page 5, again, very early. I said it's such a contained and restrained quick scene, but we learn so much. So it's when Jack gets into the car with his driver for the first time after the show. And we learn with very minimal dialogue, like Jack says, where the fuck are we? Phil says, east of the city. Jack says, is there any more? And again, in the parenthetical, RE alcohol. Phil, sorry, Jack, it's about a hour 40 with traffic till we get there. Jack, wait, really? Phil, yeah, but I bet we can find something around here. Phil, I'll find something. Jack, how's your kid? How old is he now? Phil, he's 17. Jack, fuck me. Phil, he got a scholarship to play baseball in college already, man. Jack, wow, that's great. Phil, I'm proud of him. My little guy's not so little anymore. Jack, in parentheticals, moving on. I don't want to go home.
Yeah, I love the movie.
To me, it was like we learned that he's not very. We already kind of, first shot, he's either a rock star who's having a real good night, but then this is like, no, he's a full blown. He's downing full bottles of Jack.
You can't go an hour and 40 minutes without it.
His driver knows. Like we learned from this scene, his driver knows.
This is a routine.
This is a routine,
and he's been his driver for a long time.
We learned that he's empathetic enough that he's not one of those like put my hat down, shut the fuck up, and drive me. Yeah. But that the addiction is so loud that he literally like. When his driver just starts to indulge the smallest bit, I'm so proud of him. He's already moved. And I loved the use of moving on in the parenthetical. It was so much more like, ooh. Whereas if that was in a description, like Jack's ready to move on, it just wouldn't have hit the same way.
Interesting.
Whereas
okay.
It really was a directive for the acting. It was a directive for Bradley to go like, I'm already somewhere else. Yeah. And it was done with so little words. And I was just so into it because I was like, I just feel like, again, the juxtaposition, the writing often is very contained. They often don't take you further than you need to go most of the time. And that comes from clearly they thought the fuck out of this, like in so many ways. That's why I think some of the things that don't work it almost makes you go, how did that, like the suicide, learning about the suicide as a 13-year-old and then him doing it so quickly after felt like, how was that not moved? Because so much of this script is so clearly thought of like a lot.
Well, and I wrote this isn't necessarily a script note, but
then don't say it.
One of the first shots of him in the car, there's a row of nooses in the window.
In the script. Yeah, it's not. Oh yeah, you didn't notice that?
I did not notice
like
that.
In the like in all of the different screens and stuff. There's literally a row, and it is literally his face and like 4 nooses.
To me, it's so obvious now.
It's so obvious, but then I wondered, like, was that luck? Was that planned?
Oh, that was planned for sure.
Sure, but it's not. It wasn't a script, so they clearly it was a directing choice. But no, it's so obvious. Yeah.
Ooh.
I love little visual cues like that.
Yeah.
That like obviously flew under the radar enough for me to not notice it, but like, yeah, I love that. It's fun. you have one before page 10?
I don't.
Do you have one before page 10?
I don't have specific. I just kind of had general.
Period. This one is just general, pages 10 through 15. It is the drag bar scene. And I love the dialogue between Jackson and Allie backstage. It's really natural, really well paced. I loved how, okay, so we don't know that he's losing his hearing yet in this scene. And so on the page, I had forgotten that. I had forgotten that he's losing his hearing. That's a whole thing throughout this, which is, I think, another reason that plays into his ultimate demise.
Yes, absolutely. I was just going
to
say
losing what he has.
I was just going to say we can't overlook that they actually do a very realistic job of weaving in the stress of that
and
as
the
well.
theme that also, this is a side tangent, but also the theme that sometimes love isn't enough. And
1,000%.
I think that's been seen in film stuff before, but I think it's a really interesting thing that I've learned, as I've gotten older, that like you can love someone a lot, but then there are certain times where sometimes love isn't enough to overcome something when there's a sticking point in a relationship.
Yeah.
But that is just such a nuanced thing to explore. But back to this scene, I had forgotten that he's struggling with hearing loss. So in the scene, there's a couple times where he asks Allie to repeat herself.
Yep.
And on the page, what that indicated to me was that they never say that it's like, they say like there's people coming in and out. It's a bit chaotic, but they never say it's like loud. And so I was like, oh, how genius. They're not going to tell us it's loud in the action, but they're going to tell us in the dialogue, show us in the dialogue, oh, he can't hear her. But then a few pages after that, he starts to talk about the hearing loss. Like we have a moment about the hearing loss and we learn that that's what it is. And so it made me backdate that on the page where I was like, wait, that's fucking a brilliant plant and payoff, where it added to the energy on the page as I was reading, thinking like, oh God, that sets the scene even more. But like having the action dialogue work in symbiosis like that. But then learning what that actually is, and then it adds to his character more. And obviously it's going to be a big sticking point for a musician. And I was like, lerv.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, what I wrote, I said, indicating that it's loud back there without ever having to mention it in the action, allowing the writer to utilize the action to emphasize little moments that come naturally out of the dialogue, like pulling off the tape eyebrow.
It's
but
so
then I said,
weird, but I love it.
Yeah, and then I said, note from later in the script, just realize that this is an indication of Jackson's hearing loss. But I still love it. I think it's great.
I love that he
It's an oddly intimate
It's oddly
thing,
intimate and it's strange, but it forces
like
you to.
He can't help but be in her
Yes.
world
Yep.
and like get as close into her
He's
orbit
just
as he
immediately
possibly can.
drawn to her, immediately enamored.
And then like he almost feels like a little kid who's like learning a new
Yes.
thing when she's like, well, I have paint in my hair, and he's like, oh, so that's not your hair. Like they really do a good job of dragging the meet cute in a way where you have that kind of feeling where you're like, ooh, it's like you said, it's like voyeuristic attention. You're almost like, I don't feel like I should be watching these two people like absolutely hitting it off.
Yeah.
Or in a way, but in a way that isn't like the showy kind. It feels real, like the way people actually start to get to know each other,
and the way people actually talk. Yeah,
and
that's
and
the biggest thing about the dialogue. It's so natural.
It's so natural. Like I
blows
love
my mind when dialogue's that natural.
the way he kind of riffs on her nose is like so real and like quirky, but like cute and it's really,
and even her
really
doing
well
the
done.
thing in that moment is almost like her, like she's so tense and kind of like thrown off by this huge celebrity being in front of her. That's like kind of this like silly thing as like, you know when you do something when you're feeling like a little anxious, you're like, why did I just do that?
Yes.
It almost seems like one of those moments.
Yeah.
It almost seems like one of those moments for her. Like they never indicate that or anything, but just like watching it this time, I was like, oh, it's kind of a fun, like, I don't know what to do in this moment. So I'm just going to
100%.
run down my profile.
Does she do it or does he do it?
She does it.
She does it first.
And then
he's
does
like, can I touch your nose for a second?
And then the music change and it's so fun. It's so
it's great.
Goage. I put on page 16 though, just this one line. I just absolutely cracked up. When they're waiting for Allie and he's out there with them and the queens are just queening and she says, bitch, can you get down off that stage and come help me close the bar, please? And it says, reveal Emerald on stage shaking her guitar from its stand. And Emerald goes, don't talk to me like that in a bus driver wig, girl. Oh my
not bus
God.
driver wig.
The drag queens in this film
are perfect.
Are absolutely
stars.
Flawless.
There's no small parts because they eat it the fuck
I feel
up.
that way about every character in this movie.
I guess
there's
after
not
their
as
first scene, Bradley and Gaga contacted them and said, we're putting you in another scene.
Because
so good.
they are dynamic. You want them on screen as much as possible. But I just think that was something I was even struck by watching, is that it was so well casted. I mean, everybody really worked in what they were doing.
Sam fucking Elliott.
I mean, come on. He's just.
Because, you know, that scene with when Jackson realizes that, like, the land he sells the land, that I had a moment where when Sam Elliott, like, fucking goes in on him, I was like, this is on one hand so dramatic. Like, it's so, like, but I was like, but Sam fucking Elliott, man, holds it down.
Yes.
Like, a worse actor, this would have been impossible to watch. Because it's real, but it's so fucking dramatic. That I was like, that you needed like that, like hyper masculine, older, like, I'm gonna fucking let you know, you want to push me, bitch?
Well, it's like I've hit my breaking point.
I've hit my fucking breaking point.
And I love that he gets punched and then he is not fucking afraid of Jackson and his bullshit. And he walks right up and gets right in his face and stands there, but not from this way of like, of not being in control of yourself. He's like going to show him like, I'm not fucking afraid of you, little boy.
He cradles his face.
Yeah.
He cradles his face.
It was Sam Elliott's choice to cry in that scene because it's not, he doesn't cry on the page, but it was Sam's choice to cry, he said, because it would show the devastation of his addiction upon his brother, who is like this kind of stoic guy, and he wanted to show that like it has gotten.
Well, and it also is not written on the page that he cries when he backs out of the driveway.
Don't get me started on the genius of that moment.
That
is a great fucking moment.
He cries himself.
That moment is one of
Bradley choking up when he's saying it wasn't dad that I idolized, it was you. That actually really got me because I was like,
every man I know who has seen this film, and it is every man, that scene
gets them because it's I hate
so
to say
poignant.
This because it can always get better, but that is male communication with zero intervening.
Yes.
Where you go, and again, that's not a generalization that men can't, I'm saying with zero intervention of a greater, because these two, we know what these two boys came from. We know the kind of dad they had. We know that they don't, whatever, that it was like, Jackson needed his brother to know that, but he could only do it in as few of words as humanly possible. Yeah. And his brother could only contain it for as few moments as possible. Yeah. So we see this restraint. It's like Jackson has to tell his brother, but then has to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And his brother literally, Sam Elliott, the look on his face, because he immediately leaves.
And he turns around to look at Bucky so he doesn't see him. And like, it's
in the featurette I watched, Sam Elliott literally says that that's an example of when the different generational trauma is handed down. The reason he doesn't get out to hug his brother is because he's not healed his own stuff.
He can't.
Mm-hmm. There's this moment of deep vulnerability, but Jackson immediately walks away, and then he like has to turn so he doesn't see him.
I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think he means when he says, "You stole my fucking voice"? Because he doesn't say my words, my song. He says, "You stole my fucking voice." Okay,
because they allude to the idea that they had a band together for a while, and
he's like, we would have been more successful if we had a different name or whatever.
And the idea is, I think more that Bobby was maybe the front man.
Yeah.
And Jackson was the guitar.
Okay. Jackson was the guitar.
Because I thought it was such an interesting choice
twice
to use
to say that.
To say you stole my fucking voice. And then when he says, Jackson kind of starts saying the voice and then
stole your voice.
Then he goes into the idolize, whatever. But I thought that was a powerful thing to say.
He looks and says, because you had nothing to fucking say. Like,
brother.
Doodle.
I mean, well, and the choice to make Bobby his brother in this version was so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful because it just gave so much more context.
Too.
Yeah.
And that Jackson was at home with this fucking drunk old dad doing nothing, where his brother was off pursuing it.
Dad made you his drinking buddy. And just that perfectly encapsulating their history in one sentence.
Yeah, all he ever made you was his drinking buddy. And you're like,
I did feel like
great dialogue.
It's great dialogue.
I felt like the script did a really good job
did for you.
of showing exposition simply.
Yes.
And that might be because I feel like I've just seen a couple films recently where I was like, the exposition is expositioning.
The exposition in this is handled
very well.
Very
like
well.
even
Very
when
thoughtful.
he's sitting with Allie, the morning after their, first night of intimacy, when he's the way he's just describing his dad and even his brother, like he's an old man, he's old, and like what
you all look like my brother. I don't look like.
I don't look like a brother. just chemistry.
So good.
I just thought that was a really good way of going, oh, okay. All right. I get more about that. I understand more of that now.
Yeah.
And
when
without
exposition is dropped masterfully, I'm always so grateful and happy.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing to fucking witness.
It is.
Because as you say, that's fucking craft, baby.
That's craft, baby. That is
in the
craft.
1930s version, let me tell you, is a never-ending stream of exposition that is
Wow.
all right on the node. I'm going to tell you how I feel, where I'm going next, where you're going to go next, and what this implicates. And then we're going to continue with the scene.
Although I will say I am obsessed with the grandmother in the 1930s.
Oh my
Can't get enough of her. Can't get enough of her when she's.
I'm her grandmother. Get out! I need to speak to my granddaughter alone.
Oh
So
my
funny.
God. And then when she gets on that mic at the end and she's like,
Yeah.
I just got here and I'm not going anywhere. And you're
Yeah.
like, Grandma, we're talking about Vicky right now.
It's funny to see how, as film has progressed through history, how clearly audiences have become more savvy with and more sophisticated with how they can digest stories.
Oh, for sure.
Agreed.
And you see it, and what's cool, because with this, you can see the different eras of filmmaking.
Yes.
And in each one,
I do love that.
it improves upon the last, but then is also perfectly emblematic of the time it was made. Because like the 70s one is a lot more nuanced than the ones that came before that. 70s one takes a big departure from the last two because it makes them singers. It brings in these different, just all these different moments. It's vastly different from the one from the 30s and the 50s. But then even that, there's incredibly melodramatic moments with Barbara stuff, like when she finds his dead body and like just different things.
Well,
like,
and after he cheats on her.
Yeah.
And they that very
It's insane.
odd, like physical
I
moment
hate you.
that they
I love you. I hate you.
Bite.
That
like,
scene is crazy.
like I just had a lot of moments where I was like, oh,
yeah, and like how like it's funny to think back, like how could anyone at that time see that and not be like, this is the cheesiest thing I've ever seen.
People loved it.
People loved it.
People loved it.
And then you see like these days the way we have to like how do people bury exposition and like it's the sophistication of how we tell stories is just so cool to see the evolution of that. And there are outliers in every era of films that like were so ahead of their time and like great storytelling, but like it's just fascinating to see and to witness.
Absolutely.
Through one essential story that's been retold these different times.
Yeah.
It's just such a unique thing in the industry to see. And that's actually my favorite part of this whole thing is getting to appreciate that aspect of this story and how it is just a timeless dynamic that people fucking love.
In the 1930s when I was like, I didn't feel anything for anyone at all.
No.
At all.
At all.
I was just
and
I
like, didn't and to be honest, I didn't feel much for either of them in the 1976 version. I was just kind of like,
in fact,
okay.
I hate John more than I hate Jackson.
Oh, I really hate John. He's just
so awful. He's so awful.
He's so awful, and it never really feels like
to the point where it's like, how could you ever love this man?
Right? Like, what is it about him? Like,
besides him setting you up with a career,
like even like he's always messing with her. Like when he goes out. And he does more on like the motorcycle again at their house. And then she's in this beautiful white outfit, Robert. And he like pulls her down in the mud. He pretends he's dead and then he pulls her into the mud. And she's just kind of like, oh, whatever. Yeah. It's so like,
why do you do this to me, John? John Howard.
Yeah, like what? But then you kind of love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, a moment for some of Barbara's outfits in that fucking movie, because I'm sorry, when they first show up to the ranch where the ranch is going to be, and she has that like pattern fucking skirt.
Need it.
With that,
need it. I need it. That was my favorite. I think that was my favorite.
Like,
favorite outfit in the entire
hat. I'm like, period.
But then there were times where I was like, what time period is this movie happening in? Because, but I guess that was part of just, she was really like,
yeah.
She was also very much her own person.
It sometimes looks like she's a fucking newsboy from the Victorian era, which I also fucking loved.
Totally. Yeah, it was all over the place.
Loved. What's your next page note on? Mine's 22.
I just had one. I just pointed out again that the script lacks transition descriptors, like with the physicality. Like on page 16, we're only told that Jack's sitting and laughing at the drag queens while they're going back and forth. And then Emerald asks him to perform, and we don't get any written cue that he gets up. We just, all of a sudden he's out. But again, it didn't bother me that much. It was just kind of like interesting to see that they didn't feel the need to do it. And it didn't like suffer from it. It was more just to go, so often I was like, oh, I don't really know. Granted, it's not like they ever do that with the scenes where there's like 5 people. It becomes more of an issue when you're in a scene with a lot of people and you're going, oh, where the fuck is anyone?
Like when we first meet her dad and all of his driver buddies.
Yeah,
First of all, I didn't realize that any of them were drivers. We get no ages, no descriptions. We're just thrown in a scene with 5 different men that we're just meeting right now. We're just supposed to know who they are. When we first meet Rez, it's like, this is Rez. We'll get to know more about him later. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then later.
By the way, one of my least favorite things people do in scripts. We'll get to know them more
about him later.
Like,
and then when Rez comes back around, this is Rez Gorman or whatever. I'm like, I thank God I remembered who he was before because you didn't tell me shit about him. And he's supposed to be this huge part of the story. I'm like, okay, that was my biggest sticking point, was that there are scenes where I got totally lost on the page because so many people are thrown into a scene with nary a description.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it
worked with few, but when a lot, it was a mess. Yeah. Agreed.
My next one is on page 22, the cop bar scene.
Yes.
So I want to open this up for, obviously we're going to open it for discussion, but I'm really curious to see what you guys think of this. I'll read what I wrote, but I'm still like, after getting deeper into the movie, I was like, I don't know if that assessment was correct, but here it is. So on page 22, I said, in the scene with Allie and Jackson at the cop bar, I really like the way they chose to emphasize just how big of a star Jackson is without making a meal of it. It says, the jukebox has started to play a song of Jack's, Too Far Gone. The person at the jukebox continues to pick songs. The fact that he's a jukebox option tells us everything already, but then it's hit home even further because the person selected it seemingly without knowing he's sitting right there. Jackson's fame in the music is part of the cultural landscape, inescapable and ubiquitous, which also bolsters the pressure upon him and deepens our empathy for his struggles with stardom. This is before I realized that the empathy didn't get brought through as much because I thought I didn't remember that they didn't really bring much of the like societal pressures playing into the addiction in this one. They don't actually hit that really at all like they do in the previous ones. Right. But when that song is played there and she's like, did you play that? Did you play that? I took it on the page as like someone just picked the song without knowing it. And this is like, that's just how famous he is, that a song will start randomly playing that's of his. But like in there, like, then he's a regular at this bar. He comes every night. So what do you guys take? Do you think that my take is correct with that? Or do you think it's less like,
I feel like it probably
reading into it
I think it probably is insinuating more the idea like that's how big a star this guy is and how long he's been around. Yeah. He's been making music for a long time. And so that that
jukebox
song
is not like
if you're a jukebox option, you've had a career and you're insanely famous.
Right. So
or you've had a massive one.
I could definitely see that that's another nod to like, well, because even when he goes into the drag bar, everyone knows who he is. Everyone. Yeah. Like the idea of Jackson Maine signing her titties is like the biggest, and you know, you don't have that with every single person. So it did feel like those were small ways of being like, this guy's a big star.
It was nicely buried exposition.
And then even when they go to the grocery store and the cashier, the way she sorry, I had to, it's like, oh, he's that level.
Yeah. He's like, it's okay. I really like that moment with Jackson because he's drunk, but like when the way that Bradley does perform the line, it's okay. It feels super genuine. Yeah. And he's not pissed off by it. He understands I'm fucking famous. This is what happens.
Even in the cop bar, Allie is more upset than
she's
he
like,
is.
yeah, and she looks at the person, she's like, that's not okay. Be careful, she'll punch you.
Yeah.
Like,
but I feel like they do, that is one of the genius parts of it, is they find these micro ways to go like, oh yeah, and that shows you, we know the kind of stars that someone would probably do that to in a grocery store.
It shows
grocery store. A grocery store.
People who would call that person on there, don't take a picture of me, but like he is more chill and like he is like this. The core of him
Both
is
sides of
a
it.
nice guy.
How he responds, but that he's so famous that someone of her age would look at him. She's not 15,
right? Yeah,
she's a middle-aged woman going, "I'm sorry, I had to."
Yeah,
that also hits it where you're like,
well, and it makes the idea of the Roy Orbison, that scene really just feels like a gut punch. I feel for him in that moment where he thinks he's the singer for the Roy Orbison tribute. Yeah. But think about it, because at one point he would have been the guy doing it. And now it's like, oh, look at this kind of famous, slightly going away music. He's going to be playing guitar when the realization, when he realizes, and then he's kind of got to stand there. That's where my empathy thing just goes like,
into passing the
and
torch.
Sam Elliott's like, that's my bad. Like, I didn't deliver whatever. And you're just like,
but then he doesn't go home and tell Allie, and Allie and then when she realizes what's going on, even at the, it's like,
when he drops the
but I think it's when she realizes he's not singing.
Yeah, she's like,
she realizes like, he was. And then she says, because the dad even says, can't wait to hear you sing tonight.
Yeah.
Jack.
Right.
So he doesn't tell them.
And you can tell that Bobby is surprised when Jackson says he'll still do it. He's like,
Yeah,
you're
and
going
it
to
says
do
that
it.
in action.
Which I think is an interesting thing because it shows that while Jackson's struggling, he's still like, yeah, I'll fucking do it. Like he's trying so much to adapt to the things that are being asked of
It
him,
is
but
true.
it's killing him. It's
Yeah.
like actually killing. I also thought this
Yeah.
movie is an interesting exploration of fame and the addiction of fame of going that this man, on one hand, we've shown that he is empathetic. Despite of whatever, all of his demons, empathetic, loving person in general. But that, would probably also admit fame has both given me what I have, but it is also killing me.
Yeah.
And yet he's so quick to want to give that to her because he knows what it's like to have a dream and want it, despite the fact that he is living the darkest side of it. And I think that also might explain, this isn't a very empathetic take, but part of why he's disturbed by the direction in which she's being pulled, because he's already seeing the machine in full effect of going, if you're going to do this, you got to do it as close to you as possible, or else what is the point?
Otherwise, you're just a product.
Otherwise, you're just a product.
You're going to be used and abused.
So
and
his
spit out.
hangups about it are more about his own, like, I almost like when, again, I already said this, but him saying I failed you, I think is such a telling line because, again, on one hand, it could be seen as gross because he's in his shitty mindset in that moment. But you also wonder, because he was so willing to platform this woman, I mean, immediately, and is so quick to be the one going, no, you're going to go with, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he says to the band, okay, we're going to do what we said. And then he says, I'll always remember you this way. Like, first off, that song absolutely kills
Phenomenal.
me. And it's so
song.
gorgeous.
That's my favorite song in the movie.
It's also so gorgeous that that's
so
the name of the song, but it works both ways.
Yes.
When he looks at her and he says,
Exactly.
always
Yes.
remember. It's so
It's like a
stunning.
double
Yes.
entendre
And then when you know
dialogue.
what's the end is too, it like really
Yeah.
fucks with me. But it's like where they're both in the version of their prime kind of. But like, again, it is unique that a singer of that magnitude would be so quick to go like, here, let's share. Let's share. Let me give you this. And then also go and also get your own. Go out there and play your own song. Do it original. Do it all that stuff. That it's like, I do think that what you're meant to get from it, and maybe it didn't hit for you as much, is that like part of his breakdown is going like, I fed her to the lions. And she's now being eaten by the lions and doesn't realize she's being eaten by the lions. The tooth hasn't hit the right rib yet. And she doesn't realize that, yes, you're famous, but this is going to start rotting in you because you're not singing. You're the part of you that, the part of me, but like the part of her that starts writing a song in a parking lot is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And like, I always think the scene too, where they're looking at the billboard. And it's such an interesting.
Well, and it's the first time we see her as like artificial red hair. That's not even like, I'm a redhead.
Burn the wig.
That is artificial.
Burn it and burn the dress too.
I mean,
dear
the whole thing. The whole thing. And I'm
deliberately so, obviously.
Deliberately
But when Ramon sees her in the bathtub,
and he says, you look like a star.
No, baby.
But also, doesn't that also speak to how, like,
yes, it does.
Again, how it's like her best friend, but how even when she goes to him, when like Jackson's passed out and he's like, I don't know, girl, put your like he's not really like that good of a friend. He kind of just like gets off on what
But it's such an example of the way that there are so few people that are actually going to like be real in a situation like that.
Yeah.
But no, that artificial red hair hurts me.
Hate crime.
But it really is such a literal physical representation of how much the machine is changing.
Oh yeah, it almost had to be that ridiculous.
Well, because I think she said she refused to do blonde because she did not want it to be associated with.
You would have been like, that's Gaga. Lady Gaga. Like, whereas I think
for sure.
Yeah. But I think that scene, the dialogue of that scene is so interesting because he's like, when he says, doesn't do you justice, first off, let me tell you something. If there is a billboard of my motherfucking face up and my husband looks at me and says, it doesn't do you justice, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that the image that is blown up on a billboard. That's not what I need in that moment.
That's where I get a little wheat
that's
woo.
what I mean, though, is that scene is
like, he's being honest with her, and he's like, yeah, he wants the best for her, but he wants the best for her for what, in the context of what he thinks is the best for her. And yeah, the machine is at play here, but I'm also like,
but that's, I think, kind of like,
you want fame for what the version you want fame for her. Because you think your version's best for her. When like, how do you know,
but I'm
Jackson?
like, do you think it's best for her because you think she can avoid all this other shit? Like, it's really, but that scene to me is where you see him struggling a lot with what's happening. And he says some lines that are where she could have, I literally had the thought she could have popped off at him. Like, you're doing this to me right now. Like, but he's also looking out for her and saying like, I would also the whole, like, I would fucking hate myself. I didn't say, again, I'm like, right now, bitch. But like, while we're late, because again, I'm like, we're late and you're about to tell me right now, like, I hate it didn't do you justice. I would fucking hate if I did it. But his ultimate thing being like, not everyone's gonna be listening forever, so go like but he could have said it so much kinder, and he doesn't. But that's where we start to see there is that side of him where you're like, there's a whole other way you could have gone about this, but you're not.
But he doesn't have
the.
It's like he doesn't have the ability.
But she
because he's also not drinking there because Rez makes the like no drink, comment.
But that it's also interesting that she really seems to like receive it as a warning more than. Whereas I was like, there's
she knows
a version
where his heart is coming.
Yeah, but there's a
that
version
to
where
me
she
feels
like ew.
But I think that's where it alludes to this idea of like she's going along for the ride right now, but she even knows.
Yeah.
I could be losing the part of me that's talented.
I'm compromising 100%. A bit of myself. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think it would have, in a slightly different thing, it would have been interesting to see her a little bit more of her own expressed internal conflict. I think that this is ultimately we're with Jackson. This is Jackson.
But that's where I guess, like you said, that's really what this particular story is.
That was my biggest gripe is always it's called A Star Is Born, but why is it all centered around fucking Jackson? And Jackson, John, Howard, whatever. Yeah. All these names. But then, after watching them, that's the story. Yeah. That's the dynamic, and that's the story. Is the contrast between someone rising and another star falling, and all the chaos that creates. But
my next one is page 37. What's yours? Is it the same?
Bottom of 36, top 37.
Is it the same thing?
The hearing doctor scene.
It's a genius cut.
For me, it's that I don't. Something about the exposition coming from the doctor and Jack's response to it with these, the writing of that I thought was so fucking good because it's an exposition dump, but it's in the context of obviously it's a doctor telling you he's hearing it, but Jack's responses I thought as from a writing standpoint,
are so lived in. So lived in.
Exactly. It is such a fucking good scene because
hey babies, we're gonna take a quick pause. Daddy in the Wild. Read your fucking dialogue out loud because you cannot get dialogue this good if you don't. That's just the truth. You don't know the cadence of how someone is responding to this if you don't say your fucking dialogue out loud. Anyway, go ahead.
Like, I mean, okay, that sounds great. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sold. I'm sold. Yeah, call Bobby. Like, just him responding to it, and like it's an exposition dump of a scene, but then it's heightened by having this very real response from him where he's being dismissive, like whatever. He doesn't want to think about the fact that he's losing his hearing. You're gonna tell me to use the earpiece, sure.
Sold.
And then the next Bobby. Scene after that, he's saying, "I'm not going to use that fucking earpiece," and I love the contrast of
that.
It.
I literally said, I love the cut from Jack's ear doctor telling him what he needs to do to keep his hearing. Jack totally agreeing, and then literally cutting right to him being completely different personality. I'm not doing that. I won't be here with them. I won't. Whatever. It's great. Do you know what it weirdly reminds me of? I'm realizing doing this, like I parallel things that should never be paralleled, but it reminds me of Family Stone when we hear Sarah Jessica Parker clear her throat.
Oh yeah.
And then a second later, Rachel McAdams' character is like, she's got that
grotesque tick.
It's really smart. It's movie, but it's so smart.
It's plant and payoff, boom, right next to each other, but in a way that
smart. It's
smart. It heightens and it adds to the narrative. I just loved it. But like, just reading that on the page, I was just like, fuck, I love this interaction.
Yeah, it's loved
really good. It's so small.
That's his apparently his
real doctor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I do love the descriptor for Bobby, a cowboy of a man. First off,
and boy is he.
Truly.
A cowboy of a man of intermittent age, a man who's seen it all twice. Also,
love.
So good.
And then who wears miles of rough road. And who will come to know as Bobby barrels into the amphitheater. You honestly, I'm going to say it, Script Babies, one of the best
ads
I've ever.
Once
again, visual and feeling.
Yes.
Visual and feeling. Visual and feeling. There's a daddy do in the wild. Visual and feeling for your character descriptions.
Yeah, and really
stunning.
Get a thesaurus, whatever.
Yes.
Figure out juicy, more compelling adjectives and verbs for your descriptions.
Who has seen it all twice. Not once. Twice.
He's a salty dog.
And what
is he
doing? He's barreling.
And he's on round 3 of seeing it all.
Literally upset.
Wow.
I mean,
That is great.
It's so good.
When's your
There are
next
so
one?
my next and last one's on page 49.
Oh, then go.
Pop
out.
Get to the
Sarah,
page.
did you have any in between then?
I don't think so. Again, I
only have 2 more.
I will say that I learned a new term, sotto voce. I didn't know what that meant when that was in the parenthetical.
Okay.
That means in a quiet voice as if not to be overheard.
Oh.
And it's in the script a lot. It's in it a lot. There are many. That's why I finally was like, what does this mean?
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
I love that.
Like a perfect example is when Rez is about to tell Jack that like, hey man, we all know this is all going to be pushed aside for the real thing, whatever. When he shows up and Jack's about to open the door, he goes, back from the dead. Like the way he says that, it's not meant for him to hear it. It's just kind of, but it is obviously we're supposed to hear it. So I just thought that was really
they do
an
use
interesting
Soto a few times.
term.
Yeah.
How did you pronounce it?
It's sotto voce.
Oh, that's the full. Got
thing.
it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I always thought it's Soto. Oh, I always said Soto.
Same.
When I did the
No, I trust
play
you.
on Google,
I trust you.
believe
I'm
it was
saying-
Soto. Now I'm like, maybe it's Soto.
No.
I
I trust you. I'm saying, oh, that's how it's
pronounced.
pronounced.
I think I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I think that was. I think that's what I heard.
So on page 49, and this will be echoed in my daddy do's. Again, I can't help but get ahead of myself. So I love the formatting of the dialogue. Fun formatting alert. Beep, beep, beep. On top of page 49, Allie and Jackson are leaving the stage and they're mobbed by the crowd. Allie kind of gets lost in the crowd for a second. She's like, Jack, come back. So it's a mixture of dual dialogue and then also like combo dialogue. There's a lot of dual dialogue in this.
Lot.
Which usually would be an
I know it didn't bother me
for me, but
we're agreed.
I have things to say in
Let's
the
hear
daddy
it.
do's. But no, I thought it was really well formatted because it adds that kind of frenetic energy on the page.
Yes.
And it breaks it up for the eye in a way that makes it more dynamic rather than taking you out of it because like all these things are being said and like then you have the dialogue that's right next to each other. I just thought that it was a really great way of building energy on the page by utilizing formatting, which so much of formatting is to help streamline the read and to build upon like, you know, what you want people to feel and how you want them to experience it. And they do that a lot in this where it really works.
I agree.
The dual dialogue usually I would say don't use it too much, but
I know, I agree.
in
But
this-
this movie or this
they did it
scripted-
really well.
Yeah.
but yeah, Script Babies, go to page 49 and see how they did it because it just, for me, it really worked.
For me, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I just have a couple of quick ones. Page 55, I love this description because once again, it's a great mix of visuals with a hint of feeling. So this also, that isn't really just for characters. It's kind of for everything. A gentle hand touches her, sweeps the hair from her face. She startles awake to see Jack there in her bedroom, on her bed, in her life.
Oh,
and then the
yes.
line of action underneath that,
What? Where is it?
they kiss and hold each other. Suddenly, this is very real.
Yeah, gorgeous. That's where I was
Suddenly,
like,
this is very real. And then when you see it in the movie, she plays like that where she's like, oh God, this man's in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Like this celebrity, like it wasn't just this crazy wild guy.
Yeah.
Like, he came to find me.
Yeah.
Like he's really in my life.
Yeah.
I love that. This is suddenly this is very real. I was like, yeah.
So good.
beep, beep, beep.
Period.
Page 81, an example of the overhand holding inner monologue type action. When Allie goes to find Jack after a bender and he's at Noodle's house passed out in their daughter's room, it says, despite everything, they're on this journey together and Allie lets him in, if only for a moment. That is entirely unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. I can't even. It was those moments where I was like, you're actually taking me out of it right now. This is not a novel. And the writing speaks for itself. It actually does. I didn't need that. I'd actually maybe go, it weakened it for me. I was like, ugh.
I also have a gripe with the way that they just throw Noodle in there as if we're supposed to know who this man is. And like in the movie, it works better than it did on the page.
Yeah.
Yes, I
But
agree.
I'm just all of a
It
sudden,
does
this
work better.
guy is here who he clearly has like a history with and everything. And like, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but it just felt a little bit A to B to me.
I was
and
far
like,
more okay with it in the movie, though.
Yeah.
The movie, it kind of just worked for me because I was like, we can't really give more backstory to this guy right now.
Yeah.
But they did do pretty good exposition where we learned that he knew him pretty young.
Yeah.
We didn't have to know the why. It was actually a pretty good.
the friction's not there in the movie as it is on the page for me.
That's true.
For some reason on the page, it pisses me off
Yeah.
that they just throw us in here all of a sudden with this
Yeah.
character that's supposed to mean a lot when we haven't seen him at all. And in the movie, it's also, you never realize you're in Memphis. That's the other big gripe I have with the movie is that there's no sense of place and time.
That's true.
Where are on the page, you see that they're up at the Santa Barbara Bowl. You see that they're out in India. You see they're at Glastonbury. But in the movie, they never give us a sense of where they are. That
You'd
things
almost
are
have
just
to just know
happening.
that. You'd almost have to just know what Glastonbury looks like.
Exactly. And then
know.
the fact that like she flies from wherever she is to Memphis, come and find him. That I would have liked to know that he's in Memphis. And like, you know, again, like this wouldn't have made the biggest difference for the impact of the movie and what it had. But just for me personally, I'm like, I want to know where we are and where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah.
I need to know.
Where in the my last page note is page 94, more examples of their use of parentheticals for action descriptions. Jack, parenthetical, pleasantly surprised. What the hell are you doing here? Bobby, I'm in town for a gig, been working with Willie. In the parenthetical, Jack can't hear. I've been working for Willie. Like, again, genius. It would have taken you out of the moment. Whereas you at this point, we're very aware that Jackson's hearing is going. So you understand why Bobby would repeat himself.
Yeah.
But having just real quick, Jack can't hear. So once again, someone's having to repeat. Oh, I saw
it's good.
They do so much more of that in the movie. I realize playing with the hearing. They do that tone, I think 4 or 5 times. All of a sudden you're like, oh, we're supposed to be experiencing what he's experiencing.
Yeah.
I noticed that way more on this go around.
Do either of you have tinnitus?
I think occasionally I have a
I do.
teensy weensy bit
Sierra
of
and
it.
I were in a hip hop class as children that my parents were very, that's that sentence.
It's true.
Soak it in, babies.
Soak it in. Soak it in.
Soak it
I
in.
did
We
a
were,
hip-hop
Where
dance
the
class,
volume of the music, my dad was really concerned about.
and I do think that.
Oh, mine's from my rave days and laying in front of giant speakers because I like to feel the bass in my body when I was on drugs. I have a constant ringing in my ear.
Constant?
It's constant.
Mine
right
just
now,
every
it's
once in a while. Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's me. I'm doing that in your ear.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, it gets.
I'm always just buzzing in Colin's ear.
It's always more pronounced when I'm going to sleep, obviously, because like
Yeah,
your body's
okay.
going to sleep,
Does it ever
or
fuck
if
with
I
you?
start drinking. Yeah, sometimes, but like not. It's not so bad that like I'm just like always thinking about. Some people have it super bad, where like I have it enough where like right now I can tune it out, but I can always if I just like
I'll have
tune
like
in, I can hear it.
brief moments of
I
it.
have moments of
and
it.
it's always in this
No,
ear.
yeah, mine's constant.
Oof.
And an ear
Oof.
doctor told me that in my 40s, I might have to get a hearing aid. So we'll see what happens. I'm not claiming that for myself.
No, you're not. Deny.
But yeah, tinnitus,
Wow.
baby.
Oof.
Wow.
You can't get back what you already lost.
Yeah. Learn something that Jackson didn't. Okay, so we've done so much movie, but I'm just looking through like my bare minimum movie notes. One thing that I did realize in this though, and this is a little bit harkening back to some of what we talked about, but it really hit me in this watch how much of an artist Allie is when we meet her. The fact that she's not just at a karaoke or a whatever, she's at a drag bar and she's in drag. Like,
Yeah.
for not applause, like she's an art. That's what an artist does.
Yeah.
They go like, I'm gonna go do this because it fulfills me. The fact that it's not her hair done. She paints her fucking hair. She has her eyebrows gone. She does it. It's so fucking artistic. And she's singing in French.
Yeah.
She's not like everything about it is screaming artist. Like this person is doing this.
Yeah.
Which I think does work for the story and works in Jackson's favor when you start to see how far she goes from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it, again, didn't hit me before this one, but this time I was like, oh, like we meet her as an artist and he happens into her world.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, plays back to that I failed you because when he's got to see her in her world before they had any interaction, he witnessed how much of an artist she is.
Yeah.
That she,
when it's something that when it was just something that she prioritized in her life. She's a performer because she even says when she's at the catering, like, I'm performing tonight. Like this is a thing that she sets aside time for and makes sure
and
it's
she
like an
doesn't,
obligation. Not an obligation.
And
but
you don't imagine that she's going, oh, someone's going to find me in this drag bar and make me famous.
No, she's doing that.
it because
this is what
it
she loves.
fulfills her.
This is what she has to do.
That it made me go like, oh, that makes sense as to why Jack is immediately so drawn to her because it's like, oh, again, the artist in me is like,
Sees
oh my God, the artist in
Totally.
her.
Yeah.
But then also speaks to why he's so freaked out by what fame does to her, except whatever. I literally wrote, he almost gifts her his own curse a little bit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
not in that he completely changed who he was, but that it started to he started going and doing things he wouldn't normally do. And for her, it's manifesting physically and with her, whatever. I literally put the shot of her laying on the bar, the red light, her quick pause to look at him into the camera is like, it's so such a good shot. Just that.
It is a great shot.
It's so good.
With that red light and her eyes are just like sparkling. It's great.
Also the line read of Allie's boss at the restaurant saying, "You're fucking late again." She goes,
I'm what?
Yeah.
Oh, it
really
scratches
so it really does. Like she's done.
Is like,
because in the beginning she's like taking out the trash, like your mouth.
Like your mouth.
Like this is like, she's finally like, nope. Okay.
And
I'm
I love
done.
that little Italian in her coming out where she's just like got that little like, I'm not.
And I have to, I will be remiss if I do not say it. The choice at the very end of the film to have her singing the song, and I mean, she's about to hit the point where she's going to keep belting, and it cuts to him singing the end of the song, is such a brilliant choice. It to me encapsulates so much of their relationship, the love that was there between them, and what they brought out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like and why she was compelled to sing that song, because that obviously was the last thing they had together as well.
Mm-hmm.
If I have not somehow been emotional yet in the movie, it will.
Her little reaction to him too in the scene, she's a mess.
That's what got me. So when the other times I've watched the movie, it's been 3 times. So it was the other 2 times. That actually really pissed me off because I was like, here we are again, bringing it all back around to Jackson when it's A Star is Born.
So
but then this time now, I watched it, and instead of being like, oh, here we are back at Jackson, it's like, yes, Jackson's the one singing it, but I was all eyes in on Allie and her crying. And it's this moment of like, I have him back. He's in a good place.
Yes.
We're here. And he's singing about how much he loves me. He wants to never love anyone else again. And I was like, it was the first time I was like, ooh, I'm feeling something here. Because it's like, I think I was contextualizing it negatively. And when I didn't, and now I have a new appreciation for it. Because it's like, oh, that's actually, it is a really beautiful moment.
Well, because she says to Rez, and this is when we haven't seen this yet, or him singing that song, that he's inside of his music, like he hasn't been, like he's back in
and
it.
Rez does not give a fuck. You know what I also had the thought is that I was like, let's put what happened with like the pissing himself and the embarrassment, whatever. And then when Rez is like, it makes it sound like the PR of it, I'm sure, but makes it sound like no one would take her seriously. I was like, that wouldn't be true for the world we live in now at all.
Yeah, no.
No one would punish her for him like that.
No.
Now, granted, I know this is 2018, and so I'm going to try to say that, but I actually thought that when this was the first time when I was watching it, I was like, none of what he's saying is true.
Well, when he's saying
it be a bit of a PR, but also in this
But we were in triage. We barely made it out of it.
The refs would actually be like, there's a lot to work with here.
Yeah.
There would be.
And there would be.
Like, but.
And you would also, honestly, probably be like, you should have him come out for the last song, blah, blah, blah.
To show that,
to show the arc of it all. Yeah. That actually is one of my favorite changes in this adaptation because him fucking up her award show moment is in every iteration of it.
It is awful.
And it's usually him just walking in drunk being like, yeah, you did it, baby. And then fucking it up. But this one, the choice to have him piss himself on stage, it's so humiliating.
Oh, man.
And like the layers of like what she's feeling and like she wants to protect him, but she's also like kind of struggling with like, well, fuck, it's taking my moment. Like, but that like the way that they heightened that moment and honed it is actually one of the best.
And then when they get home,
they
get home, another moment that always gets me is the way she screams, "It's my job."
Yes, when her dad's like, and then her dad's like, "You fuck!" And, my God.
And it's my job.
But like from one addict to another, and like all that. But also like again, I only saw the original, the 1930s one, but I did think it even just in contrast to that, in that version. The Mr. Maine, I forgot which name he has in that one. I just know that his last name is Maine. I don't remember if it was John. Is it John?
It's John Maine. Yeah.
That in that one, what's weird is they're both movie stars. They're not musicians, but like he becomes like a completely different. It's almost comedic. He becomes like a completely different person when he's drinking and like a cocky ass. Whereas I did like that the choice with Jackson in this one is he's never like the one part with the pastry. He's a little whatever, but in general. He's just like it, for instance, that moment, he is not trying to steal her thunder. He is like a 5-year-old.
And the way he plays it, that scene actually is like
it's
I
like, get anxious before it happens.
It's
on those
time.
stairs. Like, did you just win? Did you win?
And
It's
the
like,
way
oh
he sits
God.
down and he said, I have to go to the bathroom, but they pulled me here. And you're like, it's so, and honestly, having a 2.5-year-old, it's so childlike.
Yeah.
And I liked that choice because, again, I think addicts are not like everyone can be different. But there is something compelling about watching someone where it's like, to me, that's where you're going. It's a disease. Like he is in the thick of a disease because the sober him is so mortified that he did what he did, that happened in that moment. Whereas in the 1930s one, he felt very aware. Like it was like his ego couldn't handle it. So he's like, I'm going to fucking get drunk, come in and fuck up your day.
And it kind of felt that way in the 1976 one.
Absolutely. He's pissed and he wants to take her life from her in that moment.
He just wants to like.
Yeah. And in this one, it's more, he's more a slave to the addiction in this one and has a little bit less agency over himself in those moments. And another moment I love that's just so visceral is when he takes his boot and smashes that pill and then snorts it up with still not fully smashed and it puts it in gin and downs it. I'm like, oh God, it's just
it's compelled to do this thing.
Exactly.
Like, needs to do
and
this
that's another adaptation moment that I liked. And this one is so he's the one going out there having to perform in these at this pharmaceutical convention, showing like the level that he's at right now. And in previous movies, I can't remember if they do that in it's her in the previous movies, in the 70s one and definitely in the Barbara Streisand one. No, in the Barbara one and in the Judy Garland one, it's her that is going out there doing these like bit things like for commercials, showing that like this is the level she's at. She's struggling, she's trying to get through, but she still is working in these aspects. Yeah. And how he sees how much more she could be from it. But they flip it in this one to emphasize his descent.
Decline.
Yeah. And I was like, yes. Yes,
interesting.
Mr. Coop. Yes, I like.
Can we have a quick moment for the sex scenes? I love the sex scenes in this movie. It's exactly what you need. We don't need some salacious.
What about the one?
Well, Colin and I did break a rule and send a quick text because wait, let me say, you're right. I have to say it. The reason, let me first say why I like them. Every movie's sex scenes, like every movie's need for intimate scenes is different. Basic Instinct needed to be fucking balls to the wall insane for that to work. This movie we needed to see that they are in love with each other versus like they're the type that it's like they're fucking. Like, we need to see that it's like this, it's a further extension of intimacy shared between them. And I just love that we never see too much, but we see enough that you really feel that connection between them. All of that being said with one massive caveat, I said to Colin, I fucking hate in movies when like, let me get this straight. This mic keeps falling. Jackson was on a bender, was smoking a cigarette, so hasn't had water in probably, by the time he wakes up in the middle of the night, probably 6 hours. He passes out drunk with his mouth open, I'm sure. And they go to bed, and then middle of the night, you're gonna wake me with that mouth?
Yeah, and put it on my mouth and start a suck-a-luck-a-licking? I don't think so.
Guess what we're not gonna do?
Well,
gonna brush those teeth.
That is suspension
like
of disbelief.
Exactly.
Yes.
Literally.
That being said, of course we can't see them go brush their teeth.
Of course.
No. But it was just on the page, and then even in the movie, I was like,
yeah, that's fair.
You know that breath is hot.
Hot to try. You can take it hot to go as
HOTTOGO. And you can GO out of the bed right now and
but
GO to the bathroom.
What? That is
middle of the night sex. We not kissing.
That is a really good point, though. That the intimate scenes are so loving.
Yes,
every single one.
Yeah,
it's like loving and passionate, and it's quick. It shows. It's just.
And they even say that in the action when they first have sex. That like they don't say sex. They say make love, and then it says in a way that shows that this is like real love.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's
they
not
like
just,
double down on it. Like they say making love, they say that, and it shows that this is real love here.
Yeah, but woof.
Speaking of sex scenes, small little caveat: you guys have to watch Heated Rivalry.
I know,
because the creator actually said, he comes out and he says, I hope people see that in Heated Rivalry, it's a show that if you don't watch the sex scenes, you miss part of the story.
That's Normal People.
Because
Normal People.
you actually changed my perception of sex scenes in a movie from seeing like. Because I was like, oh yeah, sex scenes are there like to have a sexy moment. But
Script Babies, I'm putting the hair. I'm tucking my hair behind my ear.
And I think that when I see a sex scene, sex scenes are to indicate deeper levels of
when
character.
Done well. Now, granted,
it's true.
Lord knows I've seen enough things where I was like, this does nothing to inform anything. But it really, Normal People was the biggest example of that to me, where I was like, if you watch this without the sex scenes, the story does not fucking work. Honestly, in my opinion. Like, it's a further telling of what these two people have. And I thought that this movie was just a great, minus the hot mouths, it was a great representation of how to utilize the sex scene.
I'll never be able to watch that scene without thinking that now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Or like when they don't tinkle after too.
Well,
not in this movie, I'm just saying.
A UTI.
That's in every movie ever.
Yeah.
Sierra, do you have any other...
I don't. I think you know what? This is kind of a side note. I don't know if we're going long on this, but what did you guys think of the way he proposes to her? And the only reason I ask is because Alfredo reminded me last night that was one of his first thoughts of how, because he knew how much I loved this movie. He was thinking of proposing.
I'm glad that he didn't.
And we both talked about how I'm glad that he didn't.
That is adorable, though, that he can.
But but he was like, only because you love this movie so much. Like, I will say, that's probably my one thing. I understand why it happens the way it did. And especially after watching the 1976 version, she like proposes to him in the weirdest way.
Ew.
And then they go get married. But him just like, he doesn't even ask. He just slides the ring on.
But it also feels so Jackson. Like, whether I loved or hated it,
it also kind of feels like she would not be a big proposal girl. So maybe,
you know, my brain was like, wow, you just clip that man's guitar string.
Well, no, but they actually say in the script that it's
like
excess. It's like it's not.
Yeah. When I first saw the movie, the first two times I saw the movie, I fucking hated it because my negative bias was so strong.
Right. Okay. That you were like, no.
I was miscontextualizing the moment. I actually I was reading into it out of bias that was making me think that this is him just trying to keep her in his fold.
Okay.
Just trying to keep her and to kind of make things about himself again. But then now reading and actually watching the scene from an objective standpoint, it's him trying to make things better for himself, because he even says in dialogue, like, I listened to what you said. I'm doing this. Like, he's like, I'm going to try to make things better. Like, she could be my
port. This is my port. That's where my ship is going to.
And that's this time watching it, I was like, it totally works.
Yeah, it does. It does work. I realized that last night when Alfredo came in and he was like, you remember that was a potential way I was going to propose to you? And
the main reason I'm glad he didn't is because you're not a musician, which I know it would just, because it would be
he would have literally just done it with a ring. He wouldn't have done it with guitar string. If we were like at family dinner, he would have done that.
I don't like it.
He could have pulled it off, but I'm glad that he did it.
No, you didn't see that man's face before he proposed to you. I don't know that he could have pulled it off, because I'll never forgive Scott for blowing that for me. Anyway, Scott was convinced before it happened, because it was for like we were doing like a birthday barbecue or something like that
for him, for Alfredo.
And Scott was like, it's gonna be today. And I was like, fuck off. I was like, I want to be part of I never get to be part of surprises. Like, I want to just be surprised. And literally the whole day Scott kept going. And then to be fair though, when I knew it was happening, was we were taking a family picture and Scott goes, and again, this little fucking shit. And we love each other so much that the other person has to be in on the experience. But I'm like, you couldn't have just let me. He goes, look at his pocket, look at his pocket, look at his pocket. And to be fair, I'm shocked that Alfredo didn't think twice about it. He had a ring box in his pocket that I also, I didn't see. I was like, I remember being like, fuck you, because now I know. But then he didn't do it. So I was like, oh, and then Scott gave me this like look, and we were like all eating. And then all of a sudden I like looked at Alfredo and I was like, oh, he looks like he's gonna like throw up in the good way, where it was like, and then he was like looking at his sister, and it was like Andy, and then they were speaking in Spanish, and I was like, there's some low key stuff going on. And so I don't think he could. I think he would. He was a little nervous wreck right before, in the best way.
He'll listen to this and go, I was not a nervous wreck.
We love you.
You were. The way he did it was great, but it was very sweet to me to go, oh wow, you really, and then. also to go on to say that our first dance at our wedding was Music to My Eyes.
And then you're closing out.
Was Shallow? I think our DJ was like, guys.
Epic.
I'm sorry. Both of y'all's weddings were stunning, gorgeous, beautiful, amazing, and so fucking fun.
Aww.
The dance party at the end at the end of your wedding, I still think about it.
That Shallow moment we closed it.
Yeah, all in a circle. Like,
it was the last song we played at our wedding, and our DJ came to us 2 separate times and said, "Are you sure this is the song you want to end on?" And we were like, bitch. "I know it doesn't make sense to you, but just do it." And it was
so
amazing.
pregnant, and I look back on that like I was drunk because I was like so high on the experience.
It was so gorgeous.
But I was so pregnant then.
Oh, yeah, you were.
I was like,
how many months in were you? Like,
I was getting. I think I was 2 or 3 months.
We got married end of March.
And I gave birth the very beginning of July.
Baby.
Yeah, I was super. Okay, daddy do's, daddy don'ts. Well, we had some in the wild. I only have one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have one daddy do.
Let's hear it.
2 daddy do's, 2 daddy don'ts.
Give your characters depth. That was the biggest difference between the 1976 and the 2018.
Actually, fucking period.
Is I really felt like Jackson and Allie and Bobby and Ramon and everyone in the 2018. Rez too. Rez
to the back of the
Rez had layers, but the depth, there was so much depth, and that was why I think I felt so disconnected from the 1976. At least for me, in 2026, listening or watching it, it was like, where's the depth of these people?
It's kind of a hard
They're
watch.
all one note.
Yeah.
So that is my daddy.
That is actually very much a read, Siera.
That is a read.
Completely agree.
Well, especially when you're talking about adaptation, where you're going, the fact is you don't always get to look at multiple movies and go, oh, and so that's so good for this.
Each iteration of the story elevates the story to a greater level.
It really sounds
I
like
hope,
it.
please God, Netflix, since you're buying fucking Warner Brothers, wait 20 years before we remake this.
Please don't
just make it in 5 years, because that's kind of thing like this. It took longer between the 70s and this one, but like it's like a 20 to 30 year turnaround. Like
give it time or never.
For the culture to shift, attitudes to change.
Maybe not musicians, not actors. Maybe they're into pottery.
Maybe they are influencers who then get picked out of a TikTok event to become an actor.
Okay, here's the problem. That is what it'll be.
I made this joke to Trevor yesterday, and Trevor goes, "Don't joke. That's what
that is what it'll be."
And guess what? Colin just said it. So if someone does it, we're coming for you, bitch.
No, but seriously, go to a different industry. They went from acting to
go to a different industry. Let's see construction workers.
Well, a star,
obviously,
a star.
Puppeteers. Puppeteer.
Being John Malkovich,
that's what I just
puppeteers
said.
are like a big deal.
Yes.
Do you want to do yours?
Yes, my daddy do is. Again, I almost like my daddy do's in the wild better than this. I'm going to really double down on the character descriptions and action descriptions.
Yeah.
If you can nail in the least amount of words possible, feeling and visual, I will be your BFF forever. And so will everyone who's reading your script. That's
truly
period. That's the truth.
Always sticks out.
That is
every script that does it well. It always sticks out.
We always talk about it in every script that does it, and not the overindulgence of it. That being said, my daddy do is master your dialogue, not just in what you have to say, but equally as important what they don't say. That was one thing I truly. Because I know we've talked about this before, and while, yes, reading it out loud is very important, I really, on this read of it, I was like, oh, it's very clear what they chose to keep out, and it works.
Yeah.
Let it be as lived in as possible. If your story calls for relatable characters, even in a slightly unreal feeling world, which this kind of is, most of us won't know what it's like to be a massive rock star or pop stars, but falling in love is something most of us can relate to. And this script did a great job at making their connection feel believable and real. And a lot of that had to do with the dialogue. They're getting to know each other always seems strangely believable. And that informs the rest of the story so much on the page and on the screen. That was my only daddy do.
Period. I have 2. Daddy do number 1 on both of these are daddy do's I've said before. Well, actually, the second one isn't. It's specific to the script. Anyway, daddy do number 1. Daddy do refine your dialogue to feel naturally worn in. The script excels at great dialogue that feels natural, particularly the scene on pages 98 to 102 when Allie's in the bathtub and Jackson comes in and drunkenly belittles her. The dialogue is so raw and the subtext so deeply heartbreaking. It's a great reminder to always push yourself as a writer to find voices for your characters that are true and real. It will always service the story better and draw in your reader more fully. Always.
Period. Yes, that is a read.
Always. Unless you're writing something like a Bottoms or like something that's a parody and needs that heightened kind of on the nose thing that's part of your tone. Obviously, that's,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. There's exceptions to every rule, but fucking get that dialogue, bitch. Daddy do number 2. Daddy do play around with dual dialogue, but know when to pull back. I genuinely believe that a script can only get away with about 3 dual dialogue moments max. But this script does it fairly often, and it actually really works to add energy on the page. The mixing of voices and side-by-side formatting provides a more dynamic, chaotic, and real feel to the flow of the scene. While they may have done it a couple times too many, this is one of the rare cases that I'd argue for keeping them in for the sake of the read.
Yes, God.
And that's that.
You don't have a don't?
I do not have a don't.
I have 2 don'ts.
I have 1 don't. Mine was don't hold my hand so much that you start explaining how to hold hands.
Oh, okay.
Not literally, but there were just too many times in the script, as I said, where the inner monologue just spilled way further than it needs to. And the reason that was jarring is because it is so restrained in so many ways and very well written that I was like, yeah, you're holding my hand a little too tight, babe. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's it.
2 daddy don'ts. Daddy don't number 1. Daddy don't introduce a lot of characters without any descriptions. There's a few times we're thrown right into a scene where we meet side characters that we only learn by name, no ages, no descriptions or anything. It does become pretty confusing. Like when we first meet Allie's father and all his friends betting on horse races the morning after she first meets Jackson. Or on page 49, after Allie and Jackson get off stage after their first performance, the action reads, and during this moment between them, Allie feels the eyes of a young man, confident beyond his years, will come to know him as Rez.
Yeah, yuck. I hate that.
It feels like the writers thought this would add intrigue to the characters being introduced, but it muddied the waters for me and made the read more confusing. We've said this so many times before, but a little character description goes a long way when we're dealing with lots of new characters.
Ours are really synced this time.
Wait till you hear my daddy do number 2.
Oh, okay.
Daddy do number 2. Daddy don't. Daddy don't number 2. Daddy don't. Use action to double down on the same conclusion the dialogue has already led us to.
Period.
Sometimes the writers indicated more than what's needed on the page when we already understood the subtext in the dialogue. Like on page 81, when Allie goes to Jackson in Memphis, it reads, Jack, how's the show? The action says, despite everything, they're on this journey together and Allie lets him in, if only for a moment. Allie, it was fucking awesome. I cut the dancers. Jack, dancers? Allie, yeah. Jack, oh, good. Fucking dancers. All you need to do is sing. Action. But she needs him to hear her. Allie, you made me so upset. Jack, I'm sorry.
You don't need it.
You don't need to say, but she needs him to hear her. She's gonna fucking let him hear her.
Yeah.
You made me so upset.
And we know her well enough at this point that
Exactly. And on page 88, when Rez is talking with Jackson at the Chateau Marmont, it reads, Rez, no drink? Jack, what's that? What's that? Rez, no drink? Jack nods, fully aware of the implications Rez is alluding to. Obviously, we know what he's referencing.
Yeah.
He's a fucking drunk and he doesn't have a drink. And Rez is like,
I don't know what you're talking about. I needed that.
Oh, right. Period. Okay.
I just think that Jackson parties a little hard.
But yeah,
you've grossly misunderstood this story.
Period. Yes. But yeah, no, that's that. That's the that on that, baby.
That's the that on that.
Mhm.
Sierra, thank you for being
Thank you
with
for
us.
having me. This is just so
Thank
fun
you for sharing
to
your expertise, girl.
Yeah.
my love and
Tell me something,
and appreciation.
girl, about this movie that you love so much.
and I did. And I did.
Tell us where we could follow you.
You can follow me on IG at Infinitely Eden. That's more of just kind of my all-purpose Instagram account, but I also teach creative workshops.
Colin and I have gone to multiple, and it's so fun.
It's so fun. We vision board, we paint, we do all sorts of things. And that is at _heartspace on Instagram.
And what's your Substack, queen?
Oh, my Substack is Infinitely Eden. I guess I need to figure out a link for that. I could give you guys that info.
Yeah.
But yeah, on Substack, that is where my writing lives currently.
I mean, it's gorgeous. Check it out.
Thanks.
Pee-wee.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
Daddies.
for coming.
Yay.
Yay.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you.